Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I'm in one piece, almost exposed that I am better than Roger. Chapter 21. Arrest you. Did you commit anything, Uncle? Su Luo answered without thinking. Since Roger disbanded the pirates, most of the crew have lived in seclusion. Crocus is one of them. Although naval headquarters did not revoke their bounty, they did not bother to capture them. After all, these guys are almost all legendary characters, powerful. Especially Pluden Rayleigh. It even makes naval headquarters a little afraid. What's more, after Roger disbanded the pirate group, these people never went to sea again. Everyone takes a step back and has a good old age without disturbing each other. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will be unknown in his later years. So, Su Luo is naturally too lazy to care if he doesn't even care about naval headquarters. Besides, there is no way to explain this matter. Although Crocus looked harmless to humans and animals, and boarded Roger's ship as a ship doctor, his strength was not trivial. After the original work, Crocus used his body to resist the shells fired by Princess Weiwei and Mr. The key is, in the world of One Piece, ship doctors are not easy to mess with. For example, Chopper of the Straw Hat Pirates, Marco of the Whitebeard Pirates. But they are all ship doctors. If you tie Crocus here and take it to naval headquarters, I am afraid that I will be left directly in the headquarters and be promoted to the 3rd level. For a salted fish like Su Luo, this is a situation he doesn't want to see. Moreover, with Crocus's character, he would listen to his own words obediently there. At that time, it is inevitable to do it. Just thinking about it, Su Luo finds it troublesome. Forget it. No, I'm just a doctor. Seeing that Su Luo didn't mean to arrest himself, Crocus also ended the topic. As for Su Luo's identity, he didn't bother to inquire. Simply talked to Su Luo about the origin of the whale laboon. This matter will start from 50 years ago. I'm not interested. However, Crocus was interrupted as soon as he got his head. Su Luo also ate all the food in the can and added fresh water. Su Luo knew the story of Laboon a long time ago, and through Laboon's actions. The Straw Hat group has not yet turned upside down the mountain. This made Su Luo a little surprised. I don't know if it was Dragon who rescued Luffy this time, which delayed his adventure. Or some other reason, but this is not important. The important thing is that Luffy will definitely prevent Laboon from hitting Red Line. Since someone is intervening, then just be a spectator. What a weird person. Seeing Su Luo's attitude, Crocus couldn't help but vomit, turned back to his room, and found out the fishing boat. I don't have a boat here, only this. If it goes well, I should be able to stick to the next island. When you get there, it might be easier to find a boat. Crocus explained, holding the canoe. However, he was still more curious in his heart, are you really the upside-down mountain swimming through? Thinking of the turbulent ocean current, Crocus felt dangerous. Relying on the physical body to swim across the upside-down mountain in one breath, what kind of physical constitution does this have? Even on Roger's boat, few people can compare Su Luo. What's wrong? Su Luo glanced at the canoe. The hull is also 2 meters long and 1 meter wide. And without sails, they can only be rowed with wood pulp. Fortunately, his physical strength is stronger than ordinary people. Reluctantly deal with it. Then, Su Luo thanked Crocus, took the canoe one by one, put it on his shoulders, bent his knees slightly, and then straightened it hard. In an instant, a force burst from Su Luo's toes, leaving a spider web-like crack on the island. Soon, Su Luo carried the canoe and landed on the way out. Both power and speed surprised Crocus. It's not even an exaggeration to say. It's Crocus, who didn't even see Su Luo's movements clearly. This guy's physical skills are not trivial. For a moment, Crocus couldn't help feeling ashamed. He also believed Su Luo's words. It is very possible, really relying on the body to swim over the upside-down mountain. What a terrible man. Looking at Su Luo's leaving back, Crocus put his hands around his chest and let out a sigh of emotion. There was even a strong hunch in his heart. Su Luo, Marine, one day, will stand at the apex of the strongest. However, what he didn't even dream of was that when he returned to the house, he suddenly found a gold coin lying on the corner of the table, which seemed to be used to cover the cost of the canoe and food. As for Su Luo, He came out of Laboon's body without looking back, then threw the wooden boat into the sea, jumped up, picked up the wood pulp, and started paddling. It really helped a lot. Although swimming to the next island is not a problem, paddling is always easier than swimming. Moreover, Crocus also prepared food and fresh water for himself. Obviously he is a pirate, but he has a good heart. However, it is precisely because Crocus is a pirate that Su Luo did not deliberately act like a weak person. After all, it's impossible for a person like him to go to Marine and say something. Secondly, the so-called hidden strength, as long as you haven't done it with all your strength, it is called hidden strength. It is also good to release Conqueror's Hawkeye in Logue Town. Cut the sea in front of Hawkeye. All are just one of Su Luo's many whole cards. And he will never expose his full power in front of anyone. That's enough. But then again, this is the entrance to the Grand Line. It's the only place where you can choose a route. According to Su Luo's impression, there are about 7 routes here. Each one can reach the ultimate island, Raftel. And only one of them is the route of Straw Hat Luffy. It is also the route that Su Luo, a traverser, understands the deepest. The advantage is naturally omniscience, but the disadvantage is that you may encounter Luffy. But then again, even if you choose another route, it may not be without any trouble. It would be better to use this understanding of the plot to stay away from trouble as much as possible. And, once you get close to the calm belt, it means you won't encounter any pirates. It can also stay away from Luffy, the troublemaker. The most important thing is that the calm belt can go straight to Impel Down and then pass through the Gate of Justice, which is Marineford. It's a good shortcut. Thinking about going, Su Luo finally determined his route and set off for the next island. But, this time it seemed the goddess of luck was smiling. After about 2 or 3 hours of paddling, a small sailboat came towards him. And judging from the flag hanging on it, it seems to be a pirate ship. There is no need for manpower to paddle, and there is a room where you can sleep. For a while, Su Luo's eyes flashed with excitement. Next second, Su Luo jumped directly onto the ship's deck. However, a graceful female figure suddenly made him not calm down. Vivi, the 2 people in front of Su Luo. A man in a green suit, with a beard in the shape of a number 9 trimmed on his face, orange hair, and a golden crown. It is the cadre member of the Baroque Work Club, Mr. 9. The girl standing behind him wore aqua blue ponytails, hung down to the waist, matched with a green jacket, white shorts, and a pair of white mid-boots of the same color. As a traverser, Su Luo will naturally not mistake this guy. She appears to be a member of the Baroque Job Club, Mr. Wednesday. But in fact, it was the Princess of Alabasta, Neferutari Vivi. It is also a very popular female character in the story of One Piece. I didn't expect that I would meet Vivi here. Su Luo couldn't help but complain, and quickly realized what was going on now. If you guessed right, Vivi and Mr. 9 should be planning to solve the whale Laboon. And there, because of Laboon's relationship, the sailboat was damaged. So when I came back, I had to board Luffy's boat. This is also very reasonable. After all, Vivi appeared in Shuangzixia, can't he swim there? Marine. Vivi and Mr. 9 looked at each other, but they didn't expect to meet Marine in such a place. In fact, this is what Su Luo did not expect. It stands to reason that he really doesn't want to have anything to do with Vivi. However, when he boarded the boat, Su Luo didn't think so much, that his sudden force smashed the small canoe. If I go down now, I guess I can only swim to Whiskey Peak. After thinking for a second, Su Luo broke the silence at this time. I want to requisition your ship as a marine. He decided to let Vivi take himself to Whiskey Peak, where he could get a sailing boat. Then he parted ways with Vivi. She went to her twin gorges. Go to your own Marineford by yourself. Well water does not offend river water. Hey, even if you are marine, you can't requisition our ship in a word. And, how can marine act alone? Mr. 9 refused on the spot. An inexplicable guy wanted to requisition their ship. This kind of thing is too outrageous. Moreover, the ghost knows if this guy is a pirate, so he grabbed Marine's uniform before appearing here. Secondly, he is a cadre of the Baroque Work Club. Next second, Mr. 9 decisively gripped the baseball bat he was carrying with him, and in just an instant, he rushed to Su Luo, raised his weapon with one hand, pointed it at Su Luo's neck and slammed it down. Prepare to stun this guy. However, Mr. Nine's movements are as slow as a slide in Su Luo's eyes. He shook his head helplessly, and pressed the smashed baseball bat with just one finger. Bang! Accompanied by a muffled noise, the baseball bat suddenly stopped moving, producing an impact on Mr. Nine. In an instant, his tiger's mouth was torn on the spot because he couldn't bear the power, and blood gushed out from it. Immediately after that, I felt a sharp pain sweeping from the palm to the entire arm, as if the bones were shattered. Ah! The scream made Wei Wei's scalp numb, and the raised whip suddenly hung in the air, so she didn't dare to fall down. Mr. Nine stepped back again and again. The severe pain caused him to sweat in cold sweat, and eventually lost his balance and sat down on the deck. The 5 fingers couldn't grasp it, and the baseball bat fell to the ground. Princess Vivi was even more dumbfounded on the spot. The Baroque Job Club is Alabasta's secret crime company, and everyone in the club never uses their real names. All are called by code names. At the same time, the smaller the number of the senior agent code, the stronger the strength. And Mr. Nine can get this code name. It shows that he is a senior cadre of the work club. The strength is not weak. Result: I was defeated by the Marine in front of me with a single finger. How strong is his strength? Just as Vivi was so stunned, Su Luo spoke again. You guys, are you pirates? But this time, Su Luo directly burst out a murderous look. Although it can't be said to be strong, it is more than enough to deal with weak people like Vivi. The powerful aura crushed in an instant. It makes it difficult for Vivi to even breathe. She staggered, trying to stay away from Su Luo, but stepped on her whip on her back heel, and fell to the ground with a plop. Suddenly, an unprecedented thought flooded Vivi's brain. If her answer makes the other person dissatisfied, she will die. No. Vivi was trembling, and he quickly denied that he was a pirate. And Mr. Nine did not get there. That's good. After getting the answer he wanted, Su Luo put away his aura. He already knew Vivi's true identity. As for Mr. Nine, although he joined the Baroque Job Club, he is not a bad guy himself. From the beginning, Su Luo didn't want to hurt them. The reason for this is just to allow them to take themselves to the nearest island. Once there, everyone parted ways. Just ask Alabasta, and Vivi won't know his name. In that case, turn around and take me to the nearest island. While Su Luo was talking, he simply sat on the deck. And just like two people, Vivi and Mr. Nine looked at each other, crying without tears in their hearts. There was no other way except to obey Su Luo's orders. You can only change the direction of sailing and return to Whiskey Peak. In any case, let's get there first. But, as Su Luo returned to the lazy state, Vivi's mood eased a lot. Although she was still a little afraid of this man, she still became curious about him. Especially the atmosphere of returning home made her feel a little depressed. My name is Wednesday. I am a resident of Whiskey Peak. Where can I send you? Vivi asked tentatively. But in other words, why do you appear in such a place alone? Marine's words are generally based on troops, right? Seeing that Su Luo did not resist, Vivi continued to ask. The reason for this, in addition to curiosity, is also to inquire about more information. Use this to judge whether Su Luo is a dangerous person or not. My ship ran into some trouble and sank. Su Luo answered casually. To some extent, what Su Luo said is true. Seeing Su Luo's answer, Vivi also made up some information. It must have been a pirate encounter at sea. In the end, only Su Luo survived. After all, a person as strong as him would probably not leave his partner to escape because of fear of death. For a while, Vivi felt a little sympathetic to Su Luo. Then, what's your name? Name. Su Luo didn't expect Vivi to ask questions. He was silent for a while. Call me Smoker. After a period of sailing, Su Luo followed Vivi, Mr. Nine to Whiskey Peak. This is the first island that the Straw Hat Pirates landed after entering the Grand Line. On the surface it is a small town that welcomes pirates, but in fact it is a gathering place for pirate hunters. At the same time, it is also a subordinate branch of Baroque Work Club. Many pirates who entered the Grand Line were buried here. But Su Luo is not worried about his situation. As the mayor here, After seeing Vivi return to the voyage, Ialam immediately called people to prepare for him. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel puzzled. Isn't Vivi just going to sea for a long time? Why did you come back so soon? Is something wrong? Ikaram's face was flat on the surface, but he couldn't help worrying in his heart. His true identity is actually the captain of Alabasta's guard. It was the Baroque Work Club that he entered just to protect the safety of Princess Vivi secretly, and mixed into the identity of an intermediate agent. And considering that the pirates will only bring disaster and trouble to Alabasta, so he didn't feel guilty about hunting pirates over the years. Soon, Vivi's boat docked at the pier, took Su Luo and Mr. 9 to get off the boat, and asked the people of Ialam to entertain Su Luo warmly. Marine. Noting Su Luo's dress, Ikaram couldn't help being surprised. I don't understand how Princess Vivi met Marine. Thank you. Wednesday. Su Luo expressed his gratitude to Vivi when he saw this, and simply decided to rest here, then requisitioned a sailboat and left. As for those troubles with Vivi, naturally, Luffy helped her solve it. In a short while, Su Luo disappeared from Vivi's sight. Call. At this time, Vivi also covered his chest, his tone relaxed. So, what is the situation now? Aren't you going to solve that whale? Seeing no one was around, Ikaram simply resumed his honorifics. Also, what's the matter with that marine? I'm about to tell you about it, Ikaram. Vivi paused for a moment, then talked about what happened in the ocean. When Ikaram heard Vivi say Su Luo's name, his eyes went wide and he couldn't help looking in the direction Su Luo was leaving, as that person Smoker. Smoker, is it famous? Vivi was taken aback when he saw this. She has been with Ialam for a long time, and she knows Ialam's character very well. Just a name makes him show such an expression. It's really rare. If that guy is really the Smoker I know, then he is definitely better than you think. Then, Ikaram recounted what he knew. What a white hunter. What an I can't tolerate a pirate. And many more. So that's the case. Vivi suddenly realized when he heard this, no wonder he exudes such murderous aura when he mistakes us for pirates. Until now, when I think of that scene, Vivi still feels scared. However, I have only heard about Smoker, but haven't seen it. As for whether he is the Smoker, it is better not to be arbitrary. Ikaram thought for a moment. I did not see Su Luo on the reward order. Even if you kill him, you won't get the bounty. And he was still alone in a marine uniform. There is really no motive to shoot him. Anyway, after entertaining him, give him a small sailboat and let him leave here. Seeing that Ialam couldn't confirm Su Luo's identity, Vivi gave up, and so ordered. Well, it has to be so. In this matter, Ikaram has the same attitude as Vivi. So in the next time, Ialam led the residents of the town to entertain Su Luo in an extremely enthusiastic manner. Not only introduced him to the culture of this small town, but also carefully prepared a variety of food. And Vivi plans to go to sea with Mr. 9 again to find food. Otherwise, the two of them would not be able to deal with the boss of the Baroque Job Club. After 2 days and 1 night's rest, Su Luo's marine uniform was completely dry. Then he brought some food and prepared to leave here. In short, thank you for your care these days. Although Su Luo always has the character of a salted fish, he is not a person who takes the good of others to himself for granted. Just before leaving, Su Luo expressed his gratitude to Ialam, and left part of his money to Ialam. The money is enough to pay for the food these days, as well as the cost of the boat. While talking, Su Luo threw a purse at Ikaram. This sudden scene made Ikaram unexpected. He caught the purse subconsciously, heavier than he expected. Not to mention just 2 days, just 1 week, I am afraid it is more than enough. For a while, Ikaram couldn't help but believe that Su Luo was marine, not a pirate. Ikaram nodded, and simply reminded Su Luo kindly. The current situation in Alabasta is a bit turbulent. Although it is not clear what the purpose of Su Luo's trip is, it is better to be careful when passing there. In this way, after a few more words of greeting, the two said goodbye. As for Princess Vivi, Su Luo didn't ask any extra words. He was too lazy to ask. Anyway, there are Luffy. There is no need to worry about Crocodile. However, just as Su Luo was about to leave here, an explosion suddenly sounded in the town. Rumble. This sudden scene instantly attracted Ikaram's attention, and he subconsciously looked in the direction where the sound came from. A blaze rushed into the sky. Then came thick smoke billowing upwards, like a gray mushroom cloud in full bloom. Grunt. Ikaram rolled his throat and swallowed nervously. In his heart, an unknown premonition also followed. But, before Ikaram had time to act, a man dressed as a rock singer walked out from the corner of the street. He puts his hands in kabuto, with a high attitude. No one else, but one of the senior agents of the Baroque Work agency. Mr. Point 5. On the contrary, Su Luo couldn't help but have a black line on his face. It's just this time, I met people from the Baroque Job Club. And Mr. 5 quickly noticed Su Luo, especially the marine uniform on Su Luo, which made him startled. Let him be more certain that his intelligence is true and reliable. Mr. 8, I only ask you once, Mr. Wednesday, that guy, where is it now? Mr. Point 5 asked with a low voice. Mr. 8, regarding this question, I advise you to think it over before answering it. As soon as Mr. 5's voice fell, another female voice sounded. We now know the true identity of Mr. Wednesday. If you don't want to die here, you'd better tell us honestly that she is there. Ialam and Su Luo followed the prestige and saw a young woman holding an umbrella sitting on the roof of a building on the side of the street, looking down at the two of them condescendingly. It is another senior agent of the Baroque Work agency, Mr. Valentine. Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine. Su Luo couldn't help but a black line on his face. The appearance of the two of them at Whiskey Peak means that the identity of Princess Vivi has been identified by Crocodile and issued an order to kill her. But, according to Su Luo's memory, it develops according to the normal plot. The pursuit of Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine should be after Vivi brought Luffy and others back to Whiskey Peak. But now, Vivi has not yet gone to sea to hunt the whale laboon. And many more. Su Luo reacted in an instant. When she met Vivi, she did not see laboon, but she was not far away from the Twin Gorges. Coupled with the return flight, and the time to rest here. Now it happens to be connected to the timeline for Mr. Point 5 to hunt down Vivi. Not only that, there is also the route of the Straw Hat Pirates. The reason why they choose Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Alabasta and other routes. It was because Vivi and Mr. 9 asked Luffy to give them a ride, which led to the confirmation of Luffy's sailing route. The result is now, because of his own relationship, Vivi did not meet Luffy according to the original plot. In other words, it is very likely that Luffy will not take this route anymore. After suddenly realizing this, Su Luo was stunned on the spot. And Ikaram shook his head at Mr. Point 5 without thinking, I don't know. The reason why he joined the Baroque Job Club was to protect Vivi in secret. How could they easily inform them of Vivi's whereabouts now? Not only him, but also the people in the whole town. They gathered here from all directions. In fact, before Su Luo and Ialam met Mr. 5, he and Valentine had been inquiring about Vivi's whereabouts, and they caused battle after battle. However, the bounty hunters gathered here will be opponents of Mr. 5. He noticed that these people rushed towards him. He still had a calm expression, his right hand slowly left his pocket, and he dug his nostril. Next second, Mr. 5 pointed the booger dug out at these bounty hunters, and then flicked it lightly. And such an attack method, naturally, that person will not be deliberately careful. In an instant, Mr. 5's booger flew in front of these bounty hunters, and then emitted a dazzling glare. Rumble. The sound is deafening, and the firelight illuminates the whole street. Countless bounty hunters flew out in the explosion, fell heavily to the ground, and were seriously injured. The power gap between the two sides is like cloud and mud. Guru. Seeing the tragedy of the towners, Ikaram couldn't help rolling his throat and swallowed nervously. He knew very well in his heart that the lower the number, the stronger the ranking of the Baroque Job Club. He is not the opponent of this guy at all. Thinking of this, Ikaram had to turn around to look at Su Luo, and put all the money bags in his hand back to him. Mr. Smoker, I don't need your money. By now, Ikaram had nothing to hide. Actually, my true identity is the captain of Alabasta's guard. And Mr. Wednesday, she is the princess of Alabasta. The reason why she joined the Baroque Job Club is only to investigate their criminal evidence. Ialam pressed Su Luo's shoulders with both hands, feeling very excited. In fact, this is also helpless. Although he wanted to protect Princess Vivi personally, he knew he didn't have that strength. And, if the Marine in front of him is a special agent of the Baroque agency, he can solve Vivi while on the ship. There is no need to pretend until now. Secondly, the direction in which the explosion sounded was also the location where all the ships docked. In other words, Mr. 5 cut off Vivi's escape route from the very beginning. Based on this relationship, Ikaram can only pin his hopes on Su Luo, Marine. On the contrary, Su Luo couldn't help but have a black line on his face. He really didn't want to be involved in Alabasta. And, myself, Vivi, and Ikaram are just a fate. Do these guys really believe in themselves so easily? They don't worry, are they in the same group with the Baroque Job Club? It's not. Soon, Su Luo denied this idea. In this situation, Ikaram has no second choice at all. Even if he has a strict mouth, he would rather die than say where he is slightly. In terms of the size of the town, how long can Vivi hide? It was only a matter of time before it was found out. Please, Lord Smoker, please protect Princess Vivi anyway. Ikaram's eyes were extremely sincere. This is the request of my life. Then, Ikaram ignored Su Luo's reaction and directly told the whereabouts of Princess Vivi. Actually, Vivi doesn't know that Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine are chasing her. She did not deliberately hide. It's just resting in a certain room. As for these two guys, I will resist. When he finished speaking, Ikaram ignored Su Luo's reaction and turned around on the spot to face Mr. 5. In the next second, Ikaram's curly hair stretched out the black barrel. In any case, I won't let you hurt Princess Vivi. Ikaram roared loudly at Mr. 5, and then decisively launched an attack. Da da da. The sound of machine gun firing suddenly resounded throughout the street. The rain of bullets blocked all the retreat of Mr. 5. At the same time as the fire was blazing, the billowing smoke lifted from the ground and rolled upwards, instantly enveloping Mr. 5. Really, an overweight guy. At this moment, Mr. Valentine looked directly at Ikaram's behavior. With a very disdainful tone, she stood up from the edge of the roof, her legs were brought together, and jumped up. Soon, Mr. Valentine fell from the air and smashed Ikaram's body impartially. Bang! With a loud noise, Ikaram was crushed underneath by Mr. Valentine on the spot, and because the street couldn't withstand the impact, it shattered instantly, leaving a spider web-like crack. Ikaram was killed on the spot. Weight and sublimation. Sitting on Ikaram, Mr. Valentine instantly lifted his weight to 1,000 kilograms. It was equivalent to the weight of half an elephant, and it was firmly crushed on Ikaram's body. Not only made him unable to move, but he even felt a little difficult to breathe. I am a person who has the ability to eat light lion fruit. I can freely change my weight. Once my weight reaches 10,000 kilograms, all the internal organs of your body will be crushed by me. Mr. Valentine introduced his abilities without hesitation. She can kill a guy like Ikaram at any time. If you don't want to die so ugly, it's better to tell us, Mr. Joe. No, you should call her Princess Vivi. Where is she? At the same time, the billowing smoke that Ialam raised with his machine gun began to dissipate. Mr. Point 5 is not only safe and sound, but also has no bruises on his body. The strength between the two sides is judged by the superior. But, Vivi didn't drop Ikaram, or shivered in fear. Maybe her strength is not strong, but she has courage and will, but she doesn't lose anyone. After hearing the noise, Vivi rushed here non-stop. When she saw that Ikaram would rather die in order to protect her whereabouts, she did not hesitate to raise the whip and shook it towards Mr. Valentine. And Mr. 9 followed Vivi closely, and at a glance he recognized that Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine were both members of the Baroque Working Society. Click. I saw Mr. Valentine grabbing the flying whip easily, and then pulled it hard. The overwhelming force immediately made Vivi lose his balance, grab the ground with his head, and fell to the ground with a plop. You guys, what do you want to do to my partner? Although Mr. 9 was yelling, his voice was trembling because of fear. He knew in his heart that he could not be the opponent of Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine, but at this moment he still waved the baseball bat bravely and rushed up quickly. However, in the next second, Mr. 5 appeared behind him, slowly raised his right foot and kicked Mr. 9's ass. Bang! Mr. Nine's ass exploded on the spot, and the power of terror sent him away. For a time, everyone in the town was easily suppressed by the duo. Princess Vivi. Ikaram gritted his teeth, his face in pain. Seeing Vivi lying on the ground, he was both worried and anxious. But Mr. Valentine was pressed on him like a hill. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't get rid of it. To make matters worse, from the moment Mr. Valentine sat on him, her weight has been increasing and never stopped. By now, her weight has reached 2,000 kilograms. It is equivalent to the weight of an adult elephant. If he were replaced by ordinary people, he would have been crushed to death a long time ago. Princess Vivi, why, you have to run here, you should have escaped. Ikaram gritted his teeth, his facial features twisted together, making him look a little hideous. He is not worried about his situation. The big deal is to die for the country. But in case Princess Vivi has any shortcomings, then Alabasta will completely lose hope. Ikaram, I can't leave you here regardless, Vivi said without thinking about it. Although her strength is very weak, but at this moment, she resolutely stood up. Then, there was a bang, kicked to the ground by Mr. 5. Not only that, this time Mr. Point 5 took a step forward and stepped on Princess Vivi's back. Although Mr. 5 does not have the overwhelming weight of Mr. Valentine, as a senior agent of the Baroque Work agency, he has the power to crush the current Vivi. Stepped her on the ground, unable to break free. Soon, Mr. 5 even raised his right hand and dug his nostrils again. I am an explosive person who ate the fruit of the explosion. A violent explosion can occur anywhere on my body. Before the final execution of Vivi, Mr. 5 did not forget to explain his abilities. In his opinion, there is no possibility of a comeback for Vivi now. Her death, it is destined, and all of this, to blame, can only be blamed on her overpowering. Have to fight against the Baroque Work Club. Stop it, you. Ialam watched as Mr. 5 aimed his nose at Vivi's head, and couldn't help tears. Pouch. And Mr. Valentine's weight at this time has soared to 3,000 kilograms, further squeezing Ikaram's internal organs, causing him to spew a mouthful of blood on the spot. Above it is a fragment with a few internal organs. Mr. 9, as well as other bounty hunters, desperately wanted to stand up and rescue Princess Vivi. But it can't be done at all. It's that Princess Vivi couldn't help crying. However, this cry was not for herself, but for the innocent people of Alabasta. For a while, the atmosphere became desperate. It's over, Princess of Alabasta. Mr. Point 5 made a low voice and threw his booger out. But at this moment, Ikaram seemed to suddenly remember something important. With all his strength, he shouted out his request. Lord Smoker, save the princess. The sound resounded throughout Whiskey Peak. In the next moment, Ikaram's voice was completely submerged in the explosion. A black mushroom cloud rose to the sky. Bloom at Whiskey Peak. Bounty Hunter, Mr. Point 9, Equalem, all stood there blankly, feeling a blank brain. It was as if the last faith in life had completely collapsed. That kind of explosion, with Princess Vivi's body, could not survive at all. However, just when everyone subconsciously thought that Princess Vivi was bound to die, Mr. 5 couldn't help but lowered his head. Princess Vivi is still under him, and safe and sound. Next second, Mr. Point 5 looked back in the other direction. The booger that I threw out, unexpectedly exploded in the other half of the town. No one was hurt, and Mr. 5 didn't remember that he threw his nose over there. The order I received was to execute Vivi, but not to get any information from her mouth. Hello, Mr. 5, what are you doing? Mr. Valentine frowned and couldn't help but complain about Mr. 5. Quickly kill Vivi and go back for business. Otherwise, if the boss gets angry, the consequences will be disastrous. Not me, Mr. Point 5 answered without thinking about it, and then he suddenly realized that he turned to look at the third person standing here besides him and his partner. Su Luo, it was you just now. Marine, Mr. Point 5 looked directly at Su Luo and asked loudly. Apart from him, Mr. 5 couldn't think of anyone else who could stop him. I am not, don't talk nonsense. Su Luo shook his head on the spot and denied, however, don't you think it's a bit too much to bully a girl like this? Su Luo and Mr. Point 5 have 4 eyes facing each other, and his tone is very flat. Although he is a traverser and has a certain understanding of the evil deeds of the Baroque Works society, he does not want to participate in these things. Because even if you do nothing, Crocodile will be defeated. Why push yourself into the pit? Secondly, who is Crocodile? 7 warlords of the sea recognized by the world government. The attitude of the world government towards Shichibukai has always been difficult to describe. Once Shichibukai is defeated, it will only make everyone question the judgment of the world government. In other words, even for its own face, the world government must maintain Shichibukai. For those who defeat Shichibukai, they are bound to launch a carpet investigation. At that time, I am afraid that I will be involved in greater trouble. Secondly, the smoker guy is also in Alabasta. If he had a conflict with Crocodile, it was likely to attract smokers' attention and let him discover that he had been hiding his strength for so many years. Just thinking about these consequences, Su Luo finds it troublesome. Therefore, he really didn't want to get involved with the people of the Baroque Job Club at all. After all, he doesn't like to say any bloody big words, and he doesn't have any secondary thoughts that the greater the ability and the greater the responsibility. He is just an ordinary person with no desires. Want to stay quietly in a place salted fish. But, watching a group of little boys bullying a little girl. If not encountered, that's fine, but let myself meet. How could it be indifferent? People are not vegetation, how can they stop when they are square, and roll when they are round? Looking at Vivi, who is still strong when he is dying. Avertisement. Looked at Mr. 5 who is bullying, sinister and vicious. Are you talking to me? Mr. 5 looked Su Luo up and down, then raised his right hand, and once again dug out a booger, which was twice as large as before. Although Su Luo is now wearing Marine's uniform, Mr. 5 is not scared at all. From the beginning, he had no intention of staying alive here. And just kill everyone present. Naturally no one knows that he has shot against Marine. Heard the words of Mr. 5. Mr. Valentine on the side couldn't help covering his mouth and chuckled. It seems to be laughing at Su Luo's ignorance. Marines like Su Luo, they don't know how many they have killed. The Baroque Job Club's orders are absolute. No one can resist. It's Marine, not 2. Next second, Mr. 5 flicked hard and threw his nose at Su Luo. However, even the full-speed blow of Mr. 5 is as slow as a slide in Su Luo's eyes. He just shifted his steps to the left, and Mr. 5's booger passed him by. Rumble. The booger finally hit another building, and the flames shot straight into the sky, and a wave of heat swept across in all directions. And Su Luo, there was no movement to even glance back. Real man, never looked back at the explosion. You were right, I agree. Su Luo took a deep breath and nodded slightly, agreeing very much with Mr. 5's words. Just kill all the people here. No one knows that he is an enemy of the Baroque Job Club. Thank you for giving me a reason to kill you. As soon as the voice fell, Su Luo grasped Zanpakuto tightly on his waist and flicked it with one hand. Cut with a knife. A silver arc spread out like ripples. Before Mr. 5 could react, this arc had already passed through his body. In an instant, Mr. 5 stood blankly on the spot. It wasn't until Su Luo took Zanpakuto back the scabbard that he realized that Su Luo had made a move. As for the action of drawing the knife, he did not see clearly. The other bounty hunters who were watching this battle did not even see Su Luo's moves. Because of the speed, it's so fast, their eyesight can't catch it at all. Who are you? Mr. 5's face suddenly became pale, and his voice was even more trembling. Soon, blood oozes from the corners of his eyes, ears, nostrils, and mouth. Not only that, Mr. 5's upper body, in a very strange scene, began to separate from the waist position and slowly tilted forward until it fell to the ground with a plop. Vivi's eyes went round suddenly, his face was startled, and he quickly moved his hips back. And Mr. Valentine was even more dumbfounded on the spot. As Mr. 5's partner, she naturally knows how strong his strength is. Result, was he cut by Su Luo in just one round? And, when did it happen? Su Luo, when did he make the move? Why didn't I see anything? In fact, it is not just Mr. Valentine, everyone present has the same question. What happened just now? Can anyone explain? Why did Mr. 5, who had been arrogant to the point of failing, suddenly fall down? And the wound on his body is too smooth, right? Is this really what swordsmanship can do? You fellow. Mr. Valentine stood up from Ikaram with a loud voice, his pupils dilated, and he looked at Su Luo in horror and anger. Soon, Mr. Valentine lowered his weight to 1 kilogram, opened the umbrella in his hand, exerted a little force on his toes, and instantly jumped to an altitude of 30 meters. Now she is not only avenging Mr. 5, but also for herself. She has an ominous premonition in her heart. Or, get rid of this marine by yourself. Or, die tragically here. And she didn't want the latter to happen anyway. In an instant, Mr. Valentine directly climbed his weight to 10,000 kilograms. This is the limit of her body now. A full 10 tons of weight, plus a fall of more than 30 meters. The shock is enough to kill an adult whale in seconds. Go to hell, you marine. 10,000 kilograms top pressure. Even in the process of Mr. Valentine falling down, the kinetic energy generated instantly lifted the air, forming a terrifying air current, spreading out towards the surroundings. In an instant, the bounty hunter who had finally stood up flew out on the spot. Boom, boom, thump. The impact sounded one after another, and countless bounty hunters passed out. However, facing Mr. Valentine who sat down, Su Luo still stood there, not even hiding. Boom. A loud noise rang through Whiskey Peak, and Mr. Valentine's ass collided strongly with Su Luo's shoulder. The shock wave spread to all directions like ripples, and instantly shattered the street under Su Luo's feet. It left a shocking crack, like a huge spider web. The buildings on both sides, because they could not withstand the pressure of this shock, fell apart on the spot and turned into pieces of rubble. But the worst is Mr. Valentine. Even with a weight of 10,000 kilograms, it can't overwhelm Su Luo. On the contrary, the majestic impact force directly acted into Mr. Valentine's body, shattering all her 5 internal organs and 6 lungs. Pouch. I saw Mr. Valentine spray a mouthful of blood against his umbrella, and then his body rolled down from Su Luo's shoulder. Thump. Mr. Valentine rolled off Su Luo, fell to the ground, and died instantly. Ikaram was lying on the ground, just in time to see Mr. Valentine's death. He couldn't help blinking, seriously wondering if he had any hallucinations. Otherwise, how to explain the scene in front of you? First, Mr. 5 was inexplicably divided into 2. Then came the sudden death of Mr. Valentine. What did Su Luo do? Who can explain? Moreover, Mr. Valentine is a fruit-capable person and can adjust his weight at will. The weight she was sitting on herself just now has indeed reached the ton level. The result was smashed on Su Luo, and it had no effect at all. For a while, Ikaram's heart could not help but be completely convinced. The marine man in front of him is the white hunter who frightened countless pirates, Smoker. Good. Only the man Smoker can defeat Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine so easily. Ikaram suddenly realized in his heart, and at the same time felt fortunate. Princess Vivi chose to bring Smoker back to Whiskey Peak at this time. It was so wise. Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine were defeated. At the corner of the street, Mr. 9 sat on the ground with a look of confusion. Moreover, this is nothing. Su Luo took a lot of effort to defeat the 2. It's a spike on the spot. In other words, this means that Su Luo's current strength is far superior to that of Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine. Among them, the bounty of Mr. 5 is as high as 10 million berry. The strength is stronger than the branch kernel. As a result, a quick kill. I've heard before that Smoker's strength is not inferior to Commodore of Naval Headquarters. It's just that he is too selfish and often ignores superiors' orders for action, so he has never been promoted. It now appears that the rumors are true. A bounty hunter lying on the ground couldn't help but say. To be a bounty hunter, you must be familiar with pirates and marine. He has heard a lot of rumors about Smoker. It's just that I haven't had a chance to see it. The strength of Commodore, is it so terrifying? I didn't even see his drawing of the knife. Me too. We are saved thanks to Mr. Smoker. Bounty hunters who haven't lost consciousness can't help but start talking. While shocked by Su Luo's powerful strength, they were also very grateful to Su Luo. He not only saved his life, at the same time, also saved Alabasta. Otherwise, Vivi is mainly solved by Mr. 5, they really don't know what to do. Especially Ikaram. He clenched his teeth, his 5 senses twisted together due to pain, his hands tried his best to support his body and stand up. Now Ikaram, even breathing, will cause great pain. Lord Smoker, please. However, as soon as Ialam spoke, he was interrupted. He looked subconsciously and found that it was Princess Vivi. Mr. Ikaram, please leave it to me next. Vivi slowly stood up from the ground, adjusted his breathing rhythm, and then took 3 steps and 2 steps before walking to Ikaram. It is completely different from the previous image that looked like a bad luck. Although Vivi looks embarrassed at this time, raising his hands and feet gives people a very dignified feeling. Especially her eyes are extremely firm. In full view, Vivi folded his hands in front of him and bowed to Su Luo in gratitude. If it weren't for Su Luo's rescue today, then she and the people in the town will definitely be wiped out. She is very aware of the methods of those people in the Baroque Job Club. These guys will never leave anything alive. As Princess Alabasta, I would like to express my gratitude to you, Vivi said loudly. At the same time, she was also very clear in her heart. Although Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine were solved by Su Luo, their identities have been exposed. The boss of the Baroque Job Club will never let go of himself. On this route back to Alabasta, there must be other killers coming. Based on repeated consideration, she made her request to Su Luo. Hope he can escort himself to Alabasta. The reason why Vivi is like this is partly because she has no other choice. The royal civil war is imminent. She must return to Alabasta to stop this. On the other hand, if it weren't for Su Luo, he would have died long ago. So at this moment, in her heart, she naturally thinks that Su Luo is a trustworthy person. The most important thing is that Su Luo's identity is marine, not a pirate. However, Su Luo couldn't help but have a black line. He obviously saved her once. This guy, how can you avenge revenge? I don't want to participate in the messy things at all. Moreover, if I take you, the killers along the way will not end there. Soon, Vivi and Ikaram also noticed Su Luo's reluctance written on his face. Lord Smoker. For a moment, Ikaram took a decisive step forward, knelt on his knees, and knocked his forehead to the ground. Due to excessive force, the bright red bloodline spread from the wound to the stone slab. In the next second, the bounty hunters present followed the example of Ikaram and knelt in front of Su Luo. Your Excellency Smoker, please. This is my only request in Ikaram's life. Not only for Princess Vivi, but also for this country. Rao Vivi didn't expect everyone to be like this. Seeing Ikaram's determination, he saw Su Luo's hesitation. She couldn't help biting her lip, and asked Su Luo loudly with a trembling voice, Mr. Smoker, to you, what is the so-called justice? Do you really have the heart to let the people of Alabasta die in wars that shouldn't happen? At the same time, inside a mysterious office in Alabasta, a man with a cigar was sitting alone at a table, on which there was a phone worm for contact. Its image can be said to be exactly the same as Mr. 5. Actually, this man and Mr. 5 have been using the phone worm to keep in touch. The death of Mr. 5, and the speeches of Princess Vivi and others. He heard everything clearly through the phone worm. And this man, no one else, is the boss behind Mr. 5. Established the Mr. Zero of the Baroque Work Club in one hand. Sand Crocodile. Crocodile. At this time, he couldn't help but his face was livid. Because he heard a name many times. Smoker. The famous white hunter. At the same time, he was also a disciple of the original Marine Admiral Zephyr. However, Crocodile never dreamed that the fellow smoker would intervene in his own affairs. If it's that man, Mr. 5, their strength is really not enough. However, you want to be my enemy, Smoker, you are not qualified. There was a flash of killing intent in Crocodile's eyes, and then he grabbed another phone worm and contacted his subordinates, hundreds of millions of elders. Continue to inform. Once Smoker appears in Alabasta, don't let him go. Seeing Vivi, Ikaram, and the many bounty hunters gathered in the town so sincere, Su Luo finally relaxed and allowed Vivi and the others to board the boat and go to Alabasta with them. At the same time, it is worth mentioning that Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine were able to ensure the death of Princess Vivi. Before they started, they deliberately blew up all the boats on Whiskey Peak, so as not to escape Princess Vivi. However, the two of them are not dead men. After solving Princess Vivi, it is natural to need Alabasta to deal with each other. So they deliberately left their own boat. Now, it has naturally become Su Luo's trophy. In other words, Su Luo is the only person on Whiskey Peak who has a boat. That's all. Su Luo, Princess Vivi, and Mr. 9, head to Alabasta together. As the captain, Su Luo began to give orders. The task of sailing was handed over to and Mr. 9, and he tried to draw a line with Vivi. Try not to talk too much with her. However, Vivi doesn't think so. She thought about it all afternoon in her room. In the end, he decided to tell Su Luo everything he knew. So Vivi left his room, went to the deck, and walked towards Su Luo, who was enjoying the sun. Also seemed to realize something, and stayed away from them as much as possible. Mr. Smoker. Vivi plucked up courage and spoke slowly. What's the matter? Su Luo glanced at Vivi, and answered casually. After this period of contact, he also adapted to others calling himself Smoker. Actually, this incident is really unintentional. According to Su Luo's original idea, he just wanted to requisition Vivi's boat, and when he arrived on the next island, he parted ways with her. Stay away from her. And, before the Alabasta incident completely broke out, leave that ghost place. Go to Marineford, but who knows, my idea is just that inch. It just happened to run into Mr. 5. They couldn't screw Vivi again. After the episode, the other party gradually became convinced that he was Smoker. Hope this kind of thing will not have any effect on Smoker. Have you heard of the Baroque Job Club? Just when Su Luo was thinking about these things in his heart, Vivi spoke slowly, leading to the topic of the Baroque Work Agency. I haven't heard of it, and I'm not interested. Su Luo answered without thinking. The implication is to hope that Vivi will not bother him. However, Vivi only froze for a moment, and then went on. About the civil war in Alabasta, drought, all kinds of problems, Vivi unreservedly told them all. It is precisely in order to investigate the man behind all of this that I, as Mr. Wednesday, sneaked into the Baroque Work Agency as an undercover agent. It turned out that the chief culprit of all this was the president of the Baroque Job Club. Vivi made a loud noise, thinking that this kind of thing was enough to attract Su Luo's attention. Unexpectedly, this guy is still indifferent. This makes Vivi feel a little uncomfortable. And the people who established the Baroque Work Club and tried to take Alabasta. It's the famous pirate. In order for Su Luo to change the pervert degree, Vivi deliberately increased the tone of the word, pirate. After all, Smoker is the marine who hates the existence of pirates. He is Crocodile with the title of 7 Warlords of the Sea. Vivi speaks surprisingly. This matter has always been little known. Rao is a senior agent of the Baroque Working Group, and he doesn't know the identity of the president. Crocodile. Su Luo had to frown deliberately when he heard this. Since it's Shichibukai, it's even more inconvenient for me to shoot. He really didn't want to promise Princess Vivi run to fight Crocodile. And Su Luo couldn't help feeling a little strange in his heart. When Vivi and Luffy were together, it didn't seem to be so direct. Please ask Luffy to defeat Crocodile. Why are you here? But soon, Su Luo suddenly realized. After all, it's a difference in identity. Luffy is just an ordinary pirate. The bounty is not even half of Crocodile's. And this is the bounty before Crocodile became Shichibukai. Who am I now? The famous white hunter, Smoker. Although this is not my intention, Vivi takes it seriously. In her eyes, Marine strikes at the pirates. It's a matter of division. This also means that in a sense, the two of them should have a common enemy. Yes, suddenly, Vivi's attitude seemed to change. This time, she did not wait for Su Luo to answer. Because just from Su Luo's eyes, she got the answer. This guy didn't want to be an enemy of Crocodile at all. Perhaps the so-called justice has always been a ridiculous thing in your eyes. Vivi couldn't help but complain about Su Luo, and his hands clenched into fists. Perhaps, from the very beginning, I shouldn't have counted on a savior to save this country. The only one who can save Alabasta is himself. Yes. There is no need to blame Su Luo's attitude. He just let himself recognize this thing again. I feel that this marine boy made a very wise choice. But at this moment, a soft female voice sounded on the boat. Vivi and Su Luo also looked at each other together. I saw a girl dressed like a cowboy sitting on the top of the cabin, looking down at them. And Su Luo, also by virtue of the identity of the traverser, recognized the visitor at a glance. Nico Robin, with the power you going to Alabasta is just a dead end. Robin couldn't help but started taunting Princess Vivi, even, let alone Alabasta. The little garden island ahead is also a very dangerous place for you. The people there are not only powerful and very vicious. With your strength, I'm afraid I can't make it through. While talking, Robin even shot on the spot, sucking Zanpakuto from Su Luo's waist and the whip from Vivi's body. Like, she has the same ability to fetch things from the air. And her attitude seems to be satirizing Vivi and Su Luo. He couldn't even hold his own weapons. With your strength, how can you defeat Crocodile? It is simply a dream. However, what Robin never dreamed of was. Su Luo's unhurried voice suddenly appeared behind her. For a moment, Robin couldn't help but stared in panic and looked towards Su Luo's position. On the recliner, no one, Su Luo, disappeared. No, it's not right. Robin suddenly realized that the voice behind him was Su Luo. But, when, he obviously didn't even blink his eyes. How did Su Luo do it, flashing behind him? Click. Just as Robin stood still on the spot, Su Luo grabbed Zanpakuto directly from her hand. Although this weapon looks unremarkable, it actually contains very powerful power. And this power is simply not something Robin can bear. Of course, Su Luo didn't intend to kill Robin here. He just retrieved his Zanpakuto, then returned to the recliner and continued to bask in his sun. On the contrary, Robin was completely shocked by Su Luo's humble behavior. Either he suddenly flashed behind him and took Zanpakuto away, or he suddenly lay back on the chair. I didn't even react, did not feel the breath of Su Luo. This kind of thing is undoubtedly quite terrible. You know, Robin is not Mr. 5 and his like. As a descendant of O'Hara, when she was 8 years old, her bounty exceeded 80 million berry. Whether it's marine or pirates, everyone doesn't want to get her. The enemies she encountered, and the betrayals she suffered. It's simply not something ordinary people can imagine. These encounters naturally gave her strength and mentality ample training. It's not even an exaggeration to say. She was confident when she came to Vivi. If you want, you can get rid of Vivi and others in minutes. Intel, Su Luo shot. This guy is probably stronger than me. No wonder he can easily deal with Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine. Robin rolled his throat, swallowed nervously, and began to mutter in his heart. Smoker, as a branch colonel, his uniform is different from ordinary marine. Moreover, this guy is only in his 20s at most, a lot younger than Smoker. This guy, who the hell is, why should I pretend to be Smoker? Why follow Vivi again? For a while, Robin couldn't help but have a lot of questions in his heart. However, she did not expose Su Luo on the spot. The reason is simple. Su Luo's uneasy behavior just now scared her completely. Appear silently to disappear silently. If it weren't for Su Luo to make a sound midway, she wouldn't even notice it. In other words, if Su Luo wanted to, he could completely take off his head at that moment. As for himself, I am afraid that he would not be able to react until the moment the head fell to the ground. This man is terrible. Even when I was with Crocodile, I didn't feel this way. No, I must get out of here quickly. Thinking of this, Robin's thoughts returned to the real world. However, although she recovered her calm on the surface, she was unable to calm down the shock of Su Luo in her heart. She took a deep breath, took out a permanent pointer from Kabuto, and threw it directly at Vivi. For this sudden scene, Vivi was also unexpected. Patter. Vivi caught the pointer and glanced down. Follow this pointer and you can bypass Little Garden. Robin spoke again and glanced at Su Luo meaningfully, and found that the other party was indifferent to it. After a pause for about a second, Robin jumped from a high altitude, over the guardrail on the deck, and landed on the back of a huge turtle. Vivi took a look. This tortoise is not only dangling a cigar, but also has a comfortable seat on its back. Obviously Robin came here riding this turtle. Instead of waiting for Vivi to ask her why she did this, Robin had already rode away without returning. This guy's pointer is probably a trap. Soon, Mr. 9 came up. He just noticed when Robin appeared, but he didn't dare to step forward. Now that Robin is gone, he can't help but express his thoughts. Now they are enemies of the Baroque Working Society. How could the other party help him kindly? Maybe, the direction that this pointer points to is exactly well-designed trap. Mr. Smoker, don't you think? Seeing that Vivi did not respond to him, Mr. 9 simply asked Su Luo, who continued to bask in the sun. Hope he can help persuade Vivi. How would I know? Su Luo glanced at Mr. 9 and said without thinking. But Robin itself is not a bad guy. In Alabasta, Robin also saved the Straw Hat Pirates many times. He also concealed important clues about Pluton from Crocodile. Said that the pointer she gave would lead them to a trap. Su Luo doesn't think so. If there are really any traps waiting for them to take the bait. Mr. 3 from Baroque Work Club and his partner will not appear in Little Garden. However, if you can bypass Little Garden, you can arrive at Alabasta a few days earlier. Su Luo thought for a while, and guided it at will. After all, someone who is so troublesome like him naturally has no interest in Little Garden to fight against Mr. 3 who is waiting for Princess Vivi. For today's Vivi, the most lacking thing is time. The Alabasta civil war is imminent. Ikaram, let's change our course and follow the direction indicated by this pointer. For a time, Vivi made a choice. She decided to trust Robin this time. At the same time, leaving Su Luo's boat, Robin also allowed the turtle to throw away the opponent as quickly as possible and then returned to Alabasta. After Robin couldn't see Su Luo's boat at all, she reacted violently. A large area of his back is now wet. On his forehead, there are also big beads of sweat. What a terrible man, Robin thought to himself. Obviously he has great strength, but he is wearing a warrant officer level uniform. Pretending to be Smoker. Such a guy, I'm afraid it's not like Crocodile. They all use false identities to hide their own secrets. And Su Luo's handwriting is even more amazing than Crocodile. He actually broke into Marine directly. For a while, Robin was convinced that such a guy must have lofty ambitions and deliberate conspiracies. Baloo Baloo. Just as Robin was so sure, the phone worm she carried with her suddenly rang. After hesitating for about 3 seconds, Robin answered the call worm. The image of the phone worm has subsequently become very similar to Crocodile. Mr. Sunday, how are things going? Crocodile asked directly. Not good, hands on, Smoker is now with Princess Vivi. Robin thought for a moment and helped Su Luo conceal his identity. Of course, Robin doesn't even know who Su Luo is. She couldn't do it even if she didn't want to hide it. Cut, Smoker guy, it seems that I really want to have trouble with us this time. Crocodile paused. Also, let him see the terrible part of our Baroque walker. After a period of voyage, Su Luo and others successfully bypassed Little Garden by relying on the permanent pointer left by Robin. Besides, the reason why the Straw Hat Pirates detoured to the Drum Kingdom in the original work was because of a condition in Nami's body. Now that Nami is not on Su Luo's boat, they naturally have no reason to go there. So after bypassing the 2 islands in succession, Su Luo and his team successfully arrived at Alabasta. But what Su Luo didn't expect was, he thought that when he got here, Princess Vivi would do everything possible to convince himself to go with her to deal with Crocodile. But who knows, at this time Princess Vivi seems to be a different person. She thanked Su Luo for bringing herself to Alabasta. Then he took Mr. 9 and left Su Luo with Ikaram. Fair enough. Looking at Vivi who left him, Su Luo breathed a sigh of relief. Without Vivi, I naturally have nothing to do with the Baroque Work Agency. The only fly in the ointment is Mr. Point 5 and Mr. Valentine are a duo, they use very small sailing boats. This kind of ship has the advantage of speed in short-distance routes such as Whiskey Peak. But if it is Marineford as the target, I am afraid that such a ship would not even be able to hold on to the capital of 7 waters. Of course, these remarks were also made by Ikaram during the parting. It is a thanks to Su Luo for saving Princess Vivi. Never mind. Su Luo looked around, and simply chose a different direction from Vivi's group and moved forward. Anyway, find a tavern first, find out where you can get a boat to go to sea, and then leave here. Su Luo thought to himself. although his current strength is enough to swim to Marineford. But it is not necessary. About half an hour away, Su Luo arrived at a pub that looked pretty good. However, before he could push the door in, a tall man rushed out of it. With Su Luo's eyes facing each other, he made a face-to-face encounter. Despite some accidents, Su Luo recognized this guy at a glance. No one else, it was just leaving Logue Town without permission to hunt down the smoker of Straw Hat Crew. Behind him, Tashigi, who was at a loss, followed closely. And the confused Marines. Su Luo, why are you here? For a while, Smoker also recognized Su Luo, his eyes widened and he looked very surprised. But now he can't take care of that much. With a vigorous flick of his right hand, it turned into a cloud of smoke on the spot, and he rolled up Su Luo without even thinking about it. Su Luo, now, what is going on? Su Luo looked stunned, completely unaware of what Smoker was doing. Could it be that he met Straw Hat Crew? That's not right. If you run into the Straw Hat Luffy, Smoker should go straight up. Fire Fist Ace. It doesn't seem right. He and Smoker's fruit abilities, no one can do anything about it. Su Luo couldn't think of a reason at all, so he chose to lie flat and let Smoker run with him all the way. And behind Smoker, followed by countless men, women and children, holding various weapons in their hands. From long knives and long swords to knives and forks for eating, everything is available. I don't know if Smoker aroused the anger here. After running for nearly 10 minutes, Smoker was able to find an empty dead end and got in instantly. Other Marines followed suit and hid. Smoker breathed a sigh of relief when the guys who were chasing them walked away, put Su Luo down, and slumped on the ground. What the hell is going on in this kingdom? Smoker breathed, not forgetting to vomit. Mr. Smoker. Suddenly, Tashigi on the side seemed to be frightened, and pointed his finger behind Smoker. Su Luo next to Smoker also took a look. Next came Smoker himself and the other Marines. I saw. A poster similar to a reward order was printed on the wall. And the man printed in the portrait is not someone else, but Smoker. Moreover, this poster also stated in detail that it was the head of the Baroque Work agency who paid for Smoker. Anyone who solves Smoker can get a bounty of 30 million berry. The Baroque Work Club. Su Luo frowned suddenly, fully understanding why so many people were chasing Smoker. It turned out that all of this was caused by the guy Crocodile. As for the reason, it must be because someone angered Crocodile as Smoker. It must be so. Thinking of this, Su Luo stretched out his hand and patted Smoker's shoulder sympathetically. However, according to Su Luo's guess, Crocodile shouldn't really want to kill Smoker. In any case, he is Marine, and his rank is not low anymore. Coupled with the identity of Zephyr's disciple, Smoker's connections are actually not bad. What's more, Crocodile knows that Smoker is stronger than Mr. 5. If you really want to kill him, how can you send the weak? With Smoker's strength, it is easy to solve those chasers. It's just that among those who pursued and killed, the number of civilians was not small. That's why Smoker is not easy to shoot. If I'm not mistaken, Crocodile Guy should want to use this method to hold Smoker, so that he will not affect his plan. After some reasoning, Su Luo guessed at odds and ends. Of course, Su Luo would not say these things. Mr. Smoker, what have you done? Tashigi couldn't help asking. She really wanted to know why Smoker was offered a reward. How could I know such a thing? Smoker yelled irritably, I can only say that this is a strange country. There will be people who will offer a reward for Marine's head. While talking, Smoker tore off the poster. But by the way, why did you appear here? Smoker looked at his portrait and couldn't think of anything for a while, so he didn't think about it at all. Concerned about Su Luo's condition. Well, to say that I was planning to go to the headquarters for training, but the ship going to sea was damaged. Thanks to the people of this country, I was able to come here. Su Luo explained. In fact, he had long thought about what to do if he encountered Smoker here. So I thought about the reason in advance. Then it's not easy for you. But if you need a boat, you can go in this direction. Smoker pointed in a direction. In any case, his route does not include Marineford. He just wanted to hunt down Straw Hat Crew. Therefore, I do not plan to use my own boat to send Su Luo to the headquarters. Really, That's great, Colonel Smoker. Su Luo answered with a smile. In every sense, it's great. Chapter 31. After talking to Smoker, Su Luo planned to say goodbye to him and Tashigi, so as not to be involved in a mess of trouble again. And Su Luo also confirmed the current timeline from Smoker. Not long after they arrived in Alabasta, they were looking for Straw Hat crew here. But so far, they have not met each other. Instead, I met Ace, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates. The two sides fought in a big fight, but the outcome was undivided. Then, Smoker was recognized by the people here. Su Luo knew everything about the rest. At the same time, thanks to Smoker, Su Luo now knows where he can go to find a boat to go to sea. It is the rainy place. It is Alabasta's dream city, the only capital that has not been affected by drought and civil strife. The famous casino, Rain Banquet, is here. So there is also the easiest place to find a boat and go out to sea. After Su Luo wanted to say goodbye to Smoker, he set off toward the rainy place. But today Alabasta is not only plagued by drought and civil strife, but many pirates and bandits often plunder their property here. Also consider that although Su Luo was promoted to warrant officer by the headquarters, his strength was not as good as Tashigi. Worried about what danger Su Luo might encounter, Smoker decided to let Tashigi escort Su Luo to the rainy area. After everything is arranged, come back and arrest Straw Hat crew with himself. Naturally, Tashigi would not refuse. Then trouble Miss Tashigi. The corner of Su Luo's mouth raised, and a polite smile appeared. Ah, you're welcome, this is what I should do, but when Mr. Su Luo returns from the headquarters, he must become stronger. Tashigi parted with Smoker temporarily, and at the same time brought a dozen marine soldiers to the rainy place with Su Luo. In any case, Crocodile only knew Smoker. So he just asked the billions of elders to find a way to hold Smoker, so as not to affect his plan. As for Tashigi and other marines, Crocodile is naturally unclear. It's a blunder. After all, you are now a warrant officer, Tashigi added. Originally, they both belong to the same level. It's just that Su Luo got it through seniority, so invisible, it's not as good as Tashigi. But now accepting the appointment of the headquarters, Su Luo is one level higher than Tashigi. Said to escort Su Luo to the rainy place. In fact, Su Luo has the power to give orders to Tashigi. This is why he did not refuse. In any case, Alabasta's current situation is very delicate. A little carelessness will be involved in the civil war. When the time comes, it will inevitably be shot. Moreover, Su Luo can't be sure now. Did Straw Hat crew take the Alabasta route? In case you run into them, it's another trouble. Based on this relationship, it is very important that you can mobilize Tashigi. When necessary, as long as a command, you can let her leave her side. Then, kill all those who see their own strength. Oneself is tantamount to not revealing strength. After some calculations in his heart, Su Luo went to the rainy place with Tashigi with peace of mind. After you find the ship, leave this place of right and wrong, Su Luo thought to himself. However, at this moment, a bundle of goods was dumped from the side, and some of the food happened to roll down at the feet of Su Luo and Tashigi. Interrupted their conversation. Su Luo looked around and found that it was a mother and daughter who were carrying their luggage to the camel. It was only because the little girl was not strong enough that she overturned things. After seeing Su Luo, the little girl took 2 steps back subconsciously, hiding behind her mother, as if she had done something wrong. Su Luo looked up and down the little girl. There are patches on the clothes in several places, and the cheeks are a little bit dirty, and they seem to be 6 or 7 years old. Very cute. And her mother's dressing didn't go well there. And the mother and daughter worked very hard and moved things very hard. There is no man to help. Mostly because of the girl's father, he died of civil strife. Such things are not uncommon in Alabasta. When living in Logue Town, although there were a lot of pirates, Su Luo rarely saw the scene before him. Su Luo couldn't help feeling a little moved in his heart for a while. The question Princess Vivi once asked herself on the boat suddenly came to mind. What is Marine's so-called justice? Justice. Su Luo muttered to himself, and then slowly bent, picked up the potato that had just rolled to his feet, and gently wiped the dust on it. Finally, I walked to the little girl and handed it over. Upon seeing this, Tashigi hurriedly asked for help. Yi, don't be afraid or not afraid. The mother squatted down quickly and began to calm the little girl's emotions. These people are not bad people, they are Marines, they are people who will protect us. Then, the mother responded with apologies and thanks to Su Luo and others. After some explanation, the little girl carefully took the food from Su Luo. Then, as if thinking of something suddenly, the little girl quickly took out a small flower made of white paper from her pocket and handed it to Su Luo. Judging from the newness of the paper, it is not difficult to see that the little girl cherishes this flower made of paper. Thank you, big brother, for always protecting us. However, such a simple sentence from the little girl made Su Luo's smile froze. He never dreamed that he would be thanked in this way. Before crossing, he had seen news of a child saluting the police uncle. Although his emotions were touched at that time, it was completely different from the senses at this time. Especially, Alabasta is suffering now, an age who should play under the blue sky, but was displaced by the war. For a while, Su Luo's mind once again came to the scene of Princess Vivi asking questions to herself when she was on the boat. What is Marine's so-called justice? Yeah, Su Luo nodded vigorously, then gently touched the little girl's head. Thank you Yi for the gift. Soon, with the help of the Marines, the luggage of the mother and daughter were all put on the camel. Su Luo and others also watched the mother and daughter drift away. Mr. Su Luo. Suddenly, Tashigi spoke slowly. What do you think this country will become? She really wants to stop the disaster that is happening in this country. Once the war starts, not only will countless people die, but countless families will be torn apart. However, with her current strength, she has no idea what she can do for this country. It is also impossible to determine the fate of this country. Su Luo didn't answer Tashigi's question. It's not that he didn't know how to respond, he just didn't bother to say it. And even if I said it, Tashigi's character won't be submissive. The next thing is relatively simple. Su Luo followed Tashigi to the rainy place and found a boat that could go to sea here. But, Tashigi suggested that some of the Marines should go to Marineford with Su Luo. How much can be considered a reference? It doesn't need to be so troublesome. Su Luo refused without thinking. I don't need any care for me. Once I encounter pirates, I am afraid that I will have to take care of these seamen by myself. Seeing Su Luo repeatedly insisting that no help is needed, Tashigi had no choice but to give up. In any case, Su Luo's current military rank is one level higher than Tashigi. But in this way, Su Luo needs some crew members. Simply leave the matter to the Marines to deal with. Considering that the whole process will take some time to process, Su Luo simply went to the casino with the largest rain area. Yuyan. Anyway, waiting is also waiting, it is better to relax. Within the Yuyan, Su Luo replaced all the money he had with him as a bargaining chip, and then randomly found a place to sit down. Mr. Su Luo, is it not so good for us now? Upon seeing this, Tashigi couldn't help but complain about Su Luo's behavior. In any case, they came to Alabasta to capture Straw Hat Crew. Then do you know the whereabouts of Straw Hat Crew? Su Luo glanced at it and pressed down all the chips in his hand. This, I don't know. Tashigi couldn't help shaking his head. If they knew the whereabouts of Straw Hat Crew, they wouldn't be spinning around here like headless flies. That's it, Su Luo reassures Tashigi. It's all here, why don't you have a good entertainment? Open, big. The staff opened the dice cup and shouted loudly. Ah, I'm hit. Tashigi's eyes widened suddenly, and Su Luo won it. On the contrary, Su Luo was not surprised by the scene before him. It's not that he did anything. But, in addition to Conqueror's hockey, he now also masters observation hockey. Although there are not many grandmasters, it is easy to listen to the size of the dice. It's natural to gamble. Of course, Su Luo is not a gambler. It's just that this rain banquet will not be long before Crocodile hides in the fire. Instead of ruining the money here, it would be better to count as much as you can take in a limited time. So Su Luo chose stud without any evasiveness in every game. Every time it's a big fight. Suddenly, more and more people gathered behind him. Mr. Su Luo, is that enough? Tashigi was stunned. She never dreamed that Su Luo's luck would be so good. In less than half an hour, he won almost 30 million berry. You know, Luffy's bounty is only this amount. It is equivalent to winning a Luffy. It looks like Goddess of Luck is smiling. Su Luo smiled and said, simply squeezing all the chips down again. If you win again this time, you will almost get hundreds of millions of berry. Not only that, the passengers standing behind Su Luo followed Su Luo's betting. Just let the staff here feel ashamed. However, at this moment, a man in a coat slowly walked down from the second floor. His face is not pretty. But soon he noticed the situation on Su Luo's side. The most unbelievable thing is that when this man appeared, the eyes of everyone present all turned away. It seems that Su Luo's winning streak is nothing remarkable. Crocodile. Soon, Tashigi noticed the visitor, and she pushed her glasses. A look of surprise flashed in her eyes. A staff member hurriedly hurried to Crocodile's side and recounted the current situation in the most concise sentences. However, Crocodile is not thinking about gambling matters. For him, his dream plan is about to come true. What's the use of money? It's okay, if he wants to win, just let him win. Crocodile said without thinking, but suddenly noticed Su Luo who was at the gaming table. Marine. Crocodile couldn't help but frown. He didn't expect Marine to go to his casino to gamble. But I thought that my plan had already begun. Crocodile didn't stay here much. After explaining a few words to the staff, he hurriedly left here. And the staff member has no other way. Had to continue gambling. As you can imagine, Su Luo, who owns Observation Hockey, will naturally not lose. Boom. However, when Su Luo succeeded in beating 1 billion Baileys, there was a loud noise. The hall began to vibrate. The mountains shook like the ground. Earth, there is an earthquake. I don't know who among the crowd yelled such a sentence first, and the guests fled out in a panic, not even paying attention to the chips. The whole hall suddenly turned into a pot of porridge. Even the staff wanted to run. In the end, Su Luo stopped him. Before running, please exchange your chips for me. However, the staff member ignored him and walked around him directly. Forget it, let's do it ourselves. Su Luo saw this and had to instruct the Marines around him to take as much cash as possible here, take all of it, and then leave the chips behind. Instead, Tashigi looked confused. Now the entire casino city is shaking violently. Su Luo still wants to do this. The more this time, the more you have to be calm. Su Luo said without thinking that after he and the Marines found hundreds of millions of Baileys here, there would be no more people left in the entire banquet. And, Su Luo knew very well what was going on with the shaking just now. It was not an earthquake at all. But, cannons. The war in the rain began. It's time to leave. Su Luo took a deep breath and left Yuyan. According to his inference, the ship is almost ready to go to sea now. But when he walked out of the rain banquet, the messy sight on the street made him frown. Although he had been prepared for a long time, the scene before him was more tragic than he had imagined. Tashigi, who followed Su Luo out of the rain banquet, was shocked by the scene in front of him and couldn't make a sound. Her eyes were round, her mouth seemed to fit a fist. There were wounded and dead bodies everywhere. The screams were endless. At a glance, there is no end in sight. It's war. Erupted. Looking at the scene in front of her, Tashigi and the Marines behind her stood blankly on the spot. Just an hour ago, it was a lively market, full of laughter. In a blink of an eye, blood in the stool flowed into a river, and the corpses were everywhere. A pungent smell of blood rushed over his face. The civil war in Alabasta has broken out. Mr. Su Luo, what should we do? For a while, Tashigi felt very uncomfortable. Before seeing this scene, she had asked Smoker, will Marines stop Alabasta's civil war? However, Smoker said that even if the war eventually broke out, it would be Alabasta's internal affairs. It is an era, a country, and the destiny that will inevitably usher in a certain period of development. Them can't stop it. In fact, Tashigi knew very well in his heart. Not to mention stopping a country's civil war, it is Straw Hat Crew, she has not caught it. What are you using to stop all this? Her power is too small after all. Anyway, Su Luo looked around. He planned to stay out of Alabasta and not participate in these things. But in the picture in front of him, even he could hardly remain indifferent. Especially those who are seriously injured, want to live, and cry loudly, praying for the voice of who can save themselves. Try to treat the wounded as much as possible first. Even if there is no force to stop the war, we must save as many people as possible. Su Luo took a deep breath and gave orders to the men behind him. For various reasons, the scenes in One Piece naturally avoided some details of the war. When all this has become a real event, the visual impact caused is undoubtedly huge. However, just when Su Luo couldn't help but hesitate to leave Alabasta according to the original plan, a voice that made him somewhat familiar came from the side. Then, he looked subconsciously. I suddenly saw a little girl wearing a tattered patch, lying on a woman lying in a pool of blood. At a glance, Su Luo recognized the girl's identity. Yi. Su Luo couldn't help but froze. He even blinked vigorously, wondering if he had seen something wrong. Result: confirmed again and found that the little girl was indeed Yi. Their family chose to go to Udi, the city of dreams, just to avoid the gunfire of the civil war. Because they firmly believe that even the war will not spread to this city. Because Crocodile is the patron saint here. All the pirates who make trouble here will be executed by him in public. As everyone knows, the man behind this war is actually the guy Crocodile. This scene caused a tremendous impact on Su Luo. If he could tell the mother and daughter in advance to keep them away from the rain, perhaps this disaster would not happen to them. Mr. Su Luo. Are you okay? Tashigi quickly noticed the change in Su Luo's expression and looked in the direction of his line of sight. At one glance, Tashigi was completely dumbfounded. Because she also recognized Yi. That they promised to protect their girls. Her mother died in this gunfire. For a while, Tashigi's heart became uncomfortable. She can't help but hate her own weakness. However, Su Luo quickly recovered his calmness. He slowly stretched his hand into his pocket and took out the origami flower that the little girl gave him. I traveled into the world of One Piece, and rarely made any promises to others. Crocodile wants to get Pluton and rule the world. That's naval headquarters. Crocodile wants to steal the country and take Alabasta. That is a problem that the world government should deal with. Even the one who should defeat Crocodile is also Straw Hat Crew. He just wanted to live a stable life and not cause those troubles. In other words, Su Luo. Want to go. Think of salted fish. I want to be an ordinary person. Crocodile. Su Luo's tone was very cold. Even a salted fish like him has principles and bottom lines in his heart. There are countless civilians here, dying of Crocodile. And he is a Marine. The nature has completely changed. Sure enough, I thought things were too simple. Mr. Su Luo. Seeing Su Luo standing there was no response for a long time, so Tashigi had to raise the volume of his voice. It was the first time she saw Su Luo like this. Tashigi, I leave this to you for the time being, and then contact Colonel Smoker to get him to the rain as soon as possible. Even if we can't stop the war, we must at least save the wounded. While talking, Su Luo collected the origami flower in his hand and strode forward with the meteor. This sudden scene made Tashigi unexpected. She stepped forward and quickly asked Su Luo what she was going to do. And therefore feel confused. But this time, Su Luo did not answer Tashigi directly. What are you going to do? Of course, going to that guy Crocodile. In fact, Su Luo is not a complete believer in Taoism. His mentality is more like an ordinary person. He doesn't say any bloody big words. There are no lofty goals and ideals. He just wants salted fish. But, seeing someone falling down on the street, he will go up and help. When encountering a thief, he will kindly remind the stolen. Under the premise of his ability, he will not be indifferent. And Tashigi watched Su Luo's distant figure, and finally gritted his teeth, turned around and started to command everyone to rescue the wounded, and contacted Smoker with a phone worm to report the situation on the rainy ground. But, just when Su Luo left Tashigi and others far behind, a seriously injured man suddenly appeared in front of him. The eyes of both sides met, and the man's eyes were full of surprise. Sir, Mr. Smoker. And Su Luo quickly recognized this person's identity. It was Princess Vivi's guard. Please, Mr. Smoker. With a plop, Ikaram knelt on the ground and quickly said the current situation, that guy Crocodile, is the man behind this war. He took Princess Vivi. In fact, Ikaram's injuries were caused to protect Vivi. If it hadn't been for the strong willpower to support his body, he might have passed out a long time ago. Although he knew in his heart, Su Luo didn't want to participate in Alabasta's affairs. But at the moment, he doesn't have the ability to pursue Crocodile at all. Moreover, even if he catches up by luck, he can't save Princess Vivi now. Now he can only pin all his hopes on Su Luo. Mr. Smoker, please, save the princess. When Ikaram uttered his request to Su Luo, his willpower reached the limit of his body. His eyesight suddenly turned black, and he leaned forward straight in front of Su Luo. Thump. Various wailings and voices for help came from all directions. You don't even need observation Hawkeye to hear clearly. After a pause of 2 breaths, Su Luo called a seaman to take care of Ikaram who had passed out. Then, leaving the rainy ground without looking back. According to the last information given by Ialam, Crocodile is taking Vivi to the capital of Alabasta, Albana. At the same time, to get there from the rain, you need to cross a large desert. There is not only a vast area, but also sparsely populated. In other words, even if you solve Crocodile there, no one will know. After thinking about it, Su Luo quickly confirmed the route. After he completely left the city of Yudi, he even increased his speed several times. Crocodile. Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, and to make sure he would not pass by Crocodile, he even released observation Hawkeye. Expand the search range to several kilometers. Found it. Soon, Su Luo confirmed the location of Crocodile. He pushed hard with one foot, and the sand under his feet instantly sank, forming a huge deep pit. The diameter spread for nearly 100 meters before stopping. Boom! With a muffled noise, Su Luo descended from the sky and stood firm to block Crocodile's path. And, Su Luo also deliberately used observation Hawkeye to confirm. Within a 5-kilometer radius, there was neither a rebel army led by Koza nor a marine nor a king's army. Here is a good place to kill. Marine. In the face of Marine who appeared in this way, Crocodile could not remain indifferent. He stopped subconsciously and looked Su Luo up and down. You are the one who gambled at Yuyan before. Although Crocodile and Su Luo had only one side bond, they still remembered him at a glance. And Vivi, who was grasped by Crocodile, slowly opened his eyes at this time and noticed Su Luo. In fact, Crocodile has countless opportunities to kill Vivi. The reason why she is still alive now is only because she still has some useful value. What Crocodile really needs is not to control Alabasta. It's the ancient weapon, Pluton. At the same time, the king of Alabasta is the only one who knows the clues of Pluton. In other words, as long as he has enough chips in his hand, Crocodile doesn't worry about the old guy saying nothing. Mr. Smoker. Vivi blinked vigorously, seriously wondering if he had hallucinations. In her cognition, Su Luo would never come here to save herself. After all, from the very beginning, he had a high-hanging attitude that had nothing to do with him. Why are you here? Vivi couldn't help asking. Instead, it was Crocodile, who was startled when he heard the name Smoker. Why, Vivi would call this guy Smoker. You said this guy is a white hunter, Smoker. Hearing this, Crocodile's mouth gradually rose, and he couldn't help but chuckle. Although he doesn't know who Su Luo is, he is definitely not Smoker. And this sudden scene also made Vivi dumbfounded on the spot. Isn't this guy, Smoker? Who is he then? For a moment, Vivi couldn't help looking at Su Luo with doubts. However, Su Luo didn't say much about who he was, and he didn't even care about Crocodile's reaction. He just fixed his gaze slightly, looking at Vivi, who was sorely disgraced. After seeing Alabasta's tragedy, Su Luo's mind will often see Vivi questioning himself what justice is. Vivi, when you were on the boat, you asked me what the hell is justice, right? Su Luo spoke calmly and said slowly. At the same time, his right hand stretched out 5 fingers and grabbed Zanpakuto on his waist. Hearing this, Vivi responded very quietly, tapping his forehead lightly. I don't know if it was her own illusion. She suddenly felt that Su Luo was totally different from that time. I will answer you now. As Su Luo spoke, He took a step forward and his 5 fingers clenched the handle of the knife. An extremely serious aura burst from him, and then swept in all directions. It seems to be floating in a breeze. Upon seeing this, Vivi even held his breath at this moment. It is worth mentioning that Su Luo's appearance is itself a star with sword eyebrows, fresh and handsome, with a slender and tall figure. If you travel to the real world, just this appearance is enough to become a top star. In addition, he is very serious now. It also had a strong impact on Vivi's heart. The so-called justice. It is to ensure the people's lives and health are guaranteed. Let the people live and work in peace and contentment. Let the people be old-fashioned. Let the people live with dignity. Su Luo's voice is not loud, but it is loud and powerful. And what Crocodile did should completely touch his bottom line. Seeing Su Luo approaching Crocodile step by step, Vivi froze for a while. Su Luo's words and sentences kept repeating in my mind. The justice of the people. It is Su Luo's justice. He didn't confront Crocodile for himself or this country. But, for the people here, is this the reason Su Luo broke up with himself before? From the standpoint of the princess and the country, I ask Su Luo for help. However, Su Luo's words caused Crocodile to laugh. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Even Crocodile couldn't help but hide his face, tears of laughter pouring out from the corner of his eyes. Although he doesn't know who Su Luo is, but this joke is definitely the funniest one I have ever heard. The guy in front of him actually said that he wanted to do it for the week. Make yourself an enemy. Does he know who he is? I am the 7 warlords of the sea recognized by the world government. And this title is related to Marine 3 Admiral, New World 4 Emperors. Also known as the 3 major forces on the Grand Line. In other words, the reason why I can become Shichibukai is precisely because powerful. The guy who solved Mr. 5 and Mr. Valentine at Whiskey Peak, is that you? A person who didn't even dare to use his real name, even said something of justice without embarrassment. It's really funny enough, Marine. Ha ha. Seeing Crocodile couldn't help laughing, Su Luo also let out a hearty laugh, as what I said so funny. But the next moment, Su Luo's laughter stopped abruptly, and Zanpakuto was pulled out cleanly with his right hand. Stroke. The invisible sword slashed forward and horizontally, splitting the sand between Su Luo and Crocodile in 2. Create bottomless gullies. Not only that, but this sword cut went straight through Crocodile's arm. Crocodile's face suddenly changed, and the corner of his eyes glanced at his arm subconsciously. I saw that the arm holding Vivi was cut off intact, and the surface was as smooth as craftsmanship. Thump. Vivi fell to the sand and rolled to the side to prevent the flowing sand from pushing himself into the abyss. It wasn't until the moment he got rid of the danger that Vivi breathed a sigh of relief, but then his face became extremely pale. Just now Su Luo cut off Crocodile's arm in just one move. Is his swordsmanship so terrifying? Although Vivi has witnessed Su Luo beheading Mr. 5. But Mr. 5 is obviously not a hierarchical figure with Crocodile. For a while, Vivi's heart was also extremely shocked. But she couldn't figure out why someone like Su Luo should pretend to be smoker. Just now, what happened? And Crocodile, who was standing on the other side of the gully, couldn't help showing a surprised expression. The speed of the slash just now was faster than his reaction nerves. He didn't react until the arm was chopped off. This guy. Was it so strong? Of course, although Su Luo's slash was swift, but for Crocodile who ate Logia devil fruit, the blow did not cause any substantial damage. I saw that half of Vivi's arm quickly turned into yellow sand and flew towards Crocodile's wound. In the blink of an eye, the cut was reconnected. This is also difficult for Logia-capable people. Any part of their body can be elementalized, thus immune to all physical attacks. In other words, no matter how powerful swordsmanship is, he can't injure himself severely. Do you want to join forces with me? Crocodile moved his arm a little, and threw an olive branch to Su Luo on the spot. The slash just now made him understand. Su Luo, this guy is definitely of the same kind as himself. He joined Marine only to hide himself, as if he had created a Baroque workplace and became Shichibukai. Otherwise, how could someone as strong as him remain unknown? And his uniform, it's just the rank of warrant officer. Swordsmanship of the kind just now. Do not. Crocodile shook his head. That level of swordsmanship was much better than those stupid colonels at naval headquarters. However, with such a person, he is willing to be a warrant officer. He is not hiding himself, what is it? And this method of hiding oneself can never be for fun, or the so-called welfare in the marine system. This guy must be because of some ulterior conspiracy and ambition. Just did this. Yes, Crocodile's brain moved fast for a while, and the brain made up a lot of evil plans. Let me join forces with people like you, and you think it out, Crocodile. Su Luo shook his head helplessly, the corners of his mouth raised, and a wry smile appeared. His attitude is very obvious and determined. I will never join hands with rubbish like you. Immediately afterwards, Su Luo's body exudes a strong murderous intent, which is close to Crocodile. Even because of this aura is so fierce that Vivi on the side can't even bear the aftermath. She only felt the buzzing of her brain, as if hitting something heavy, and her vision suddenly became pitch black. The consciousness became more and more blurred until it disappeared completely. Boom! Vivi slammed his head on the sand and passed out into a coma. Did you dizzy? Su Luo quickly noticed Vivi's condition. It's not that he did it deliberately, but he didn't expect Vivi to be so weak. He couldn't even bear his own breath. Never mind. Fair enough. Without Vivi as an eyewitness, I can unleash my strength further. Su Luo thought to himself. Although his hidden system requires that his true strength cannot be exposed, it is not impossible to use any strength. Secondly, just kill the people who have seen their true strength. It's not exposed. For example, before Su Luo crossed, he played a game called Assassin's Creed. There are two ways to complete most of the assassination missions. The first one is clean and tidy. Under the premise of not being discovered by others, solve the goal and then escape without knowing it. And the second, as long as I kill all the people present, no one will know that I assassinated it. Thinking of this, Su Luo took a step forward. But no matter what, Crocodile will not be afraid of Su Luo's murderous aura. In fact, Crocodile's strength is not the top powerhouse in One Piece. But his temper and character are quite hot. At the top of the war, he shot against Whitebeard, Doflamingo, and Akainu one after another. 4 emperors, Shichibukai, Marine Admiral. None of them are in sight. How could you be afraid of the swordsmanship shown by Su Luo? The reason why he invited Su Luo was just because of his strength. If you can join the Baroque Job Club, you will definitely become your own right-hand man. But since it refuses, then forget it. Kill him here, then go find Pluton. Tell you one thing, Marine. Crocodile took a deep sip of cigar and returned to his casual expression again. I am a capable person who has eaten logia, sand fruit. Not only can I turn my body elements into sand, but I can also turn everything here into my weapon. Crocodile opened his arms, as if to emphasize to Su Luo. He, Marine, is now standing in his arsenal. Crocodile stared at Su Luo's expression. Yes, in the desert, I am an invincible existence. Soon, Crocodile even took out an hourglass directly from his arms, and threw it at Su Luo's feet without thinking about it. The sand in the hourglass passed down. Started the timing. At most 3 minutes, I can solve you here, Marine. Crocodile said in a low voice, confidently. However, these words made Su Luo chuckle. Then you will be disappointed, Crocodile. I didn't intend to let you live that long. Crocodile's face was completely gloomy. After killing him, he never thought that Su Luo, Marine, would be so arrogant. He even claimed that it doesn't take that long to solve himself. It looks like you haven't understood the current situation, Marine. I am Shichibukai recognized by the world government, which means that even the world government does not want to be an enemy of me. Why do you think this is? Well, it's an honor for you to die in my hands. Crocodile said quietly with his cigar in his mouth. And when his voice fell, the entire right arm suddenly turned into yellow sand, and then swept out forcefully. Arc Moon Sand Dunes. Just like the name, this move is like a round of crescent moon, with a very wide range of attack, and went straight to Su Luo. Moreover, this move does not cause any slashing damage to Su Luo, but absorbs the water in his body as soon as it touches his body. Turn it into a dry mummy. It is quite a terrifying way to die. The power is even more frightening. However, just when Crocodile's sand was about to attack Su Luo, Call out. Su Luo's body suddenly turned into an afterimage and disappeared from the spot, avoiding Crocodile's attack range. Shave. When Crocodile saw Su Luo, he jumped into the distance and suddenly thought of 6 poses in his mind. This is an advanced physical technique. Sure enough, it's not that simple to think of solving you. So, Crocodile's gaze narrowed slightly, and he simply used a larger attack range. In this way, even if it is shaved, he cannot escape his own attack. Desert Sunflower. I saw Crocodile holding his breath, deepening his power into the sand and manipulating the invisible water flow below, thus turning the area under Su Luo's feet into a quicksand zone. Not only that, in order to be able to kill with one blow, Crocodile expanded the diameter of this quicksand to hundreds of meters. Exaggerated dozens of times than when fighting against Luffy. You should understand now, the reason why I am called the King of the Desert. Crocodile raised his arms like a winner. In his opinion, even the 6th style shaved, it is impossible to escape from the sunflower. The battle is over. Su Luo glanced at his feet after hearing the words. Countless sand was slowly sliding down, trying to swallow himself. But he didn't have the slightest panic or fear. On the contrary, Su Luo just looks indifferent. Lifting his right foot slightly, he took a step forward. With only this step, Su Luo walked out of the desert sunflower. From Crocodile's perspective, Su Luo's actions are almost like an instant movement. This is definitely not what the 6 shaves can do. You know, the principle of shaving is to use the explosive force generated by continuous pedaling in place to move quickly. In the quicksand, let alone the force of trampling, it is impossible to do it even if it is trampling. Now, what's going on? How did Su Luo get rid of his own attack? Is it some kind of fruit ability? Wrong. Crocodile quickly shook his head in denial. Although I don't know how Su Luo did it, it is by no means fruitful ability. Ha ha. However, at this moment, Su Luo raised his head and looked at Crocodile in front of him. He couldn't help but chuckle. This move was caught by Crocodile. What are you laughing at? I don't know why, but now I have an ominous premonition. However, Crocodile continued, yes, you guy can only laugh now. Because I have already decided, a quick decision. At the end of the sentence, Crocodile directly raised his right hand, and in the next second, the breeze and yellow sand gathered in his palm from all directions. At a speed visible to the naked eye, a sandstorm formed in his hand. Heavy Shuren. Crocodile has a low voice, which is almost the strongest blow he can make right now. Although this sandstorm looks very delicate in Crocodile's hands, as long as the storm progresses, it will continue to grow stronger until it becomes uncontrollable. Whether it is a hard rock or a solid building, can't bear this violent power. In this world, naturally, there will be no more suitable place for Shaolan to grow up than this desert. Because of this, he would be called the King of the Desert. Will be invincible. Tell you, Marine, with this power, you can easily destroy a city. With your strength, you can't bear it at all. And, Marine, do you know where is behind you? Crocodile suddenly became extremely excited. Behind Su Luo, there is no other place, just the capital of Alabasta. In other words, if Su Luo chooses to escape, then, the sandstorm that you set off will sweep the capital of Alabasta and kill the people there without leaving. Since you believe in the justice of the people, then, take this trick for the poor people. Actually, Crocodile does not intend to use this trick to destroy the capital of Alabasta. The reason why he is doing this is just to let Su Luo take his attack. Moreover, he firmly believes in his heart that his moves are enough to kill Su Luo in seconds. Everything. It's all over. Who made you, Marine, who is overweight, oppose me? Die. Crocodile roared loudly, and shook his right hand forcefully, throwing out the sand and dust in his palm. Next second, the dust storm touches the sand, collides frantically, absorbs countless sands, and strengthens itself. Su Luo's eyes were suddenly seen by a giant tornado connecting heaven and earth. And, go straight to him. Rumble. As the wind became stronger and stronger, the thunderclouds in the sky were also absorbed, flashing and thundering. Deafening. Crocodile let out a hearty laugh. It is the first time since he established the Baroque Work Agency that he has unreservedly released his power. Don't talk about a capital in a mere guts. Even a country, in this desert zone, Crocodile can be completely destroyed. Everything is over. It should be like this. However, facing Crocodile's full fight, Su Luo shook his head helplessly. It actually caused a sandstorm directly. The power is indeed good, but it's a pity. Whether it's power or speed, it's a bit short. If this move is your ultimate trump card, then I am disappointed. The corners of Su Luo's mouth raised, and a wry smile appeared. He didn't even understand. He gave Crocodile a minute of acting time. In the end, what are you looking forward to? Disappointment. Too disappointed. At the moment Crocodile shot, Su Luo was more or less expecting his performance. In any case, he is 7 warlords of the sea. And on the occasion of the top war, one after another hardened Whitebeard, Doflamingo, and Admiral Akainu. It can be said that Hawkeye. And the most important point is, when Crocodile played, the worldview of One Piece was not perfect. Judging from the later plot, Luffy's defeat of Crocodile is simply unrealistic. Based on this and other relationship, Su Luo is actually very sure in his heart. Crocodile's strength is definitely stronger than when he played against Luffy. Result: this is the trump card that Crocodile took out. What am I expecting? Su Luo couldn't help but complain about himself. Then he was expressionless and decided to end the farce. This time, he not only squeezed Zanpakuto on his waist, but also whispered the name of the weapon. In fact, all Zanpakuto are in a sealed state at ordinary times. Faced with the eyes of the world in the form of a sealed state. Only by saying the real name can Zanpakuto's true posture be shown. Su Luo slowly pulled Zanpakuto out of the scabbard. He chose to end up Crocodile in the desert instead of in the capital of Alabasta. Apart from not wanting to expose himself, there is another very important reason. That is, the power of this weapon is too powerful. If you are not careful, the entire Albana may be turned into ashes by yourself. Because this Shikai language of Zanpakuto is surroundings, everything is ashes. Ryujin Jaka. With Su Luo's loud shout, the Zanpakuto in his hand suddenly changed. A group of hot flames burst out from the handle, and instantly covered the entire blade. At first glance, it looked like a fire knife. So far, Su Luo has never used this knife's true posture to kill an enemy. Crocodile is the first. The air is distorted. Immediately, Crocodile's eyes widened, as if he would jump out of his eye sockets at any time, and his mouth gradually opened to form an O shape. The calmness that has always been, has completely disappeared. The heat from that samurai sword can even twist the air. Not only that, but a heat wave is hitting here. The temperature of the entire surface began to rise at an exaggerated rate. It makes Crocodile feel extremely hot. On his forehead and behind, there were all beads of sweat, which kept pouring out. He didn't want to believe that a marine, even a master with such a powerful force. The scariest thing is, his uniform is just a warrant officer. What kind of ambition does this guy have? That's how to hide your strength. It is no exaggeration to say that in Crocodile's cognition, Su Luo's momentum alone is enough to act as the vice admiral of the headquarters. It's hot. Soon, the temperature on the surface reached a very exaggerated point, and Crocodile's shoes were melted away forcibly. Then, it was the golden hook on his left hand that melted into liquid at a speed visible to the naked eye. To know, the melting point of gold is as high as thousands of degrees Celsius. Is it possible that the temperature released by that samurai sword can be compared with the sun? At this moment, Crocodile's cognition inevitably collapsed. You know, he is a pirate who has been to the Grand Line. What kind of winds and waves have not been seen? But a guy like Su Luo, he has never seen him before. Call out. Su Luo lifted Ryujin Jaka slowly and waved at the sandstorm in front of him. A ball of flame was released from the tip of the knife, swept through the sandstorm created by Crocodile, and instantly merged into one. The fire spread rapidly until it covered the entire sandstorm. Then, forcibly burned this sandstorm, swallowed it completely, nothing left. Crocodile was even more dumbfounded on the spot. My strongest hole card, unexpectedly. It was cracked easily. Who is this guy? Incredible, incredible. Could it be that his power has been infinitely close to Marine Admiral? What do I do? For a moment, Crocodile froze directly. The situation in front of him, directly transcending the outline, has become a blind spot for his knowledge. Yes, with Crocodile's knowledge, he didn't know how to deal with it. Even his ambition, reason, and conceit were all replaced by an emotion. That is the first emotion that mankind has had since its birth. Something inscribed in the bone. Fear. Wait a minute. Seeing Su Luo raising Ryujin Jaka again, Crocodile couldn't help rolling his throat and swallowing nervously. He raised his right hand and wanted to surrender in fear. Su Luo can give him whatever he wants, as long as he can let go of himself. However, Su Luo did not give Crocodile any chance at all. After realizing that his strength was so weak, Su Luo lost all interest. As soon as his arm fell, the bright light of the knife suddenly shone. The fiercest fire swept out towards Crocodile. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise, the sword energy and the sea of fire merge into one, passing through at such speed that it is so fast that the line of sight is hard to catch. In an instant, the air seemed to be cut by Su Luo. I saw Crocodile elementalize his whole body under fear, wanting to be immune to Su Luo's slash. However, although Su Luo's knife was just an ordinary attack, the flame it released was sufficiently close to the temperature of the sun's surface. Even a grain of sand can easily melt. Crocodile, there is no way to escape. Even his thoughts about asking for mercy were suddenly interrupted. In the end, what happened? What's the matter with Su Luo's knife, and what's the slash? Can't see clearly. There is also the terrifying speed and destructive power, which is simply incomprehensible. Why would someone with such terrifying power be a Marine warrant officer? Why? Crocodile was completely dumbfounded. He wanted to complain, but in the end, he still didn't say anything. Only the scalp-pitting cry echoed in this desert, and the scorching heat melted Crocodile cleanly. Whether it is a grain of sand or a cell, do not stay. In the true sense, the world has evaporated. Even after devouring Crocodile, this hot sword aura did not stop. Instead, it continued to fly forward until it fell into the desert. Rumble. There were loud noises like thunder, and the endless desert could not cushion this slash. The entire ground is directly divided into two, the cracks are not bottomless, like an abyss. Standing still, Su Luo couldn't help blinking his eyes vigorously. At this moment, the atmosphere became deadly silent. Am I overdoing it? Looking at the picture in front of him, Su Luo instantly released observation Hawkeye. After confirming that there was no crocodile aura, he sealed his Zanpakuto Ryujin Jaka again. Restored to sealed state, Su Luo then glanced at Princess Vivi, then took off his uniform jacket and put it on her. Make sure that several points are covered up later. Su Luo only woke up Princess Vivi. Ah! As Su Luo expected, as soon as Vivi woke up and noticed his condition, there was a scream. Soon, Vivi began to look around and saw the scene when Su Luo and Crocodile were fighting. At a glance, she stood there blankly. If it hadn't been before he passed out, there would be nothing here. She might really think whether there was a natural disaster here. What about Crocodile? However, compared to the picture before him, Vivi is more concerned about the guy Crocodile at this time. Let him go. Su Luo thought for a moment, then replied. Anyway, Vivi didn't witness Crocodile being killed by himself. Naturally, there is no need to tell her the truth. Coupled with the death of Crocodile, there will be no more crisis in Alabasta. This matter is the end. Gone. Vivi blinked, in disbelief. But she reacted quickly. Crocodile may not have left as Su Luo said, but escaped. And if Crocodile can escape, there is only one possibility. That is, Su Luo's strength is stronger. Let Crocodile have fear, even fear. Otherwise, with Crocodile's methods and ambitions, how could they be here and let them go? Isn't Crocodile 7 warlords of the sea? The super pirate recognized by the world government. Grunt. Vivi looked at Su Luo again, feeling puzzled. Why does this marine, who has the power not inferior to Shichibukai, pretends to be smoker? Can I ask you a question? The intense curiosity made Vivi couldn't help asking. Yes. Su Luo nodded. Who are you? I won't tell you. Vivi, you can ask, but I didn't say I will answer. Okay. Vivi had to wrap his body in his clothes, and then stood up from the desert. Although Crocodile is no longer there, Alabasta's crisis has not been completely resolved. According to information from Vivi Master, Crocodile used his subordinate's abilities to completely arouse the contradiction between the rebel army and the king. Now, the rebel army led by Koza is marching towards the capital at full speed. If it is not stopped as soon as possible, this country will be completely destroyed. Thinking of this, Vivi took a deep breath and told Su Luo the truth. And hope he can help. Su Luo nodded. Just send you to Alba, right? In Su Luo's impression, if it weren't for Crocodile's order, with Vivi's courage at the time, the war could be prevented. After all, she is not a princess in a vase. Upon hearing this, Vivi nodded vigorously, and then followed Su Luo to the capital. At this time, the other end of the desert, Hawkeye Mahawk hit it off with Buggy the Clown and embarked on a journey to chase Su Luo. How far do we have to go? Buggy, lying on the camel, couldn't help but complain. In order for Hawkeye to bring himself, he had to lie that he knew Su Luo's clues. But in fact, he didn't even know what Su Luo was called. Can only choose a random route, walked with Hawkeye for several days. And following Eagle Eye, not only was the pressure great, Alabasta's environment was even worse than he thought. For a while, Buggy felt that his capacity was reaching its limit. He weakly complained to Hawkeye, maybe the Marine has already returned to the headquarters by this time. Or just give up. A strong swordsman like you can't be guilty of working so hard for a Marine. However, Hawkeye seemed to have missed Buggy's complaint. He still sat on the camel, and walked forward slowly, without arrogance or rashness. But for Buggy, he didn't think so. Since he was on the throne of the world's largest swordsman, there have only been many people who want to challenge themselves. But until now, among these challengers, there is no man who makes his heart beat. Maybe Zoro will become his rival one day. But now he is undoubtedly missing the most important things. Strength. But that Marine is different. He only made one shot, which made himself question his own strength. If you can fight him, maybe you can make your swordsmanship stronger. Yes, such a man, myself. However, just when Hawkeye thought of this, a heat wave suddenly hit his face. What happened? Buggy on the side couldn't help but exclaim again and again. This heat wave is even more terrifying than the noon sun. Ah, so hot, so hot. For a while, Buggy quickly split his body apart and hid in the shadow of the camel. At the same time, he and Hawkeye also saw the picture ahead. A huge slash is coming towards them. And this slash was burning with raging flames, nearly 100 meters high, dividing the desert here in two. Such a terrifying scene immediately caused Buggy to shrink behind Hawkeye. It's him. On the contrary, it was Hawkeye. Seeing this unknown attack hit him, Su Luo suddenly appeared in his mind. And I was sure in my heart that this slash was probably released by Su Luo. Hurry up, if you get hit by that thing, you will definitely die. Buggy yelled. Hide. Hawkeye's gaze narrowed, staring directly at the slash. If I avoid here, it means I can't compare to Su Luo. Snapped. I saw Hawkeye stomping hard on one foot, and jumped up from the camel, holding the strongest black knife firmly in both hands. Soon, Hawkeye took a deep breath, his nerves tense, and armament hockey burst out. Calculating the distance between the slash and himself. Drink. In an instant, the eagle eye screamed, swiping the sword with both hands, sweeping and releasing a green sword aura, facing the attacking flames. Rumble. The two slashes collided strongly, stirring up the surrounding air, forming a terrifying air current, sweeping in all directions. Two camels were lifted off on the spot. The sand was all over the sky and was rolled into a sandstorm. Buggy even hugged his head with his hands, completely frightened by the scene in front of him. This is... what kind of power is it? Rumble. The two slashes collided together, rubbing a loud noise. Hawkeye Mahawk even held his breath, staring at the scene in front of him intensively. There is a strong hunch in his heart. This menacing slash is definitely from Su Luo's handwriting. I found us, so did you deliberately use this method to say hello? Hawkeye thought to himself, but soon denied the idea. Although he didn't have much contact with Su Luo, he could feel that the guy's mentality was somewhat lazy. Just when Hawkeye thought of this, the two slashes merged into one place, compressed crazily, and formed a huge ball. The moment it was compressed to its limit, the majestic energy burst out instantly and swept in all directions. set off a second impact, and the area at the slashing junction was bombarded out of a huge pit because it could not withstand this force. It's like an abyss, unfathomable. It took a full minute or so for the desert to return to calm. The clown buggy's body pressed against the ground, rolling his throat and swallowing nervously. What happened just now? That level of confrontation is almost like when Uncle Rayleigh and Bullet were confronted. And the Rayleigh in his mouth, Bullet, is undoubtedly one of the most terrifying powerhouses in this sea. For a while, Buggy even regretted it a little. Why should I tell Hawkeye? I know where to find Su Luo. Wait, there seems to be something wrong with this guy. Soon, Buggy noticed the change in Hawkeye's expression. This guy who has always been paralyzed and has no mood swings, there was a glimmer of excitement in his eyes at this time. Do not. It's fanatic. Let's go. Hawkeye Mahawk put away the black knife on the spot. The soul of the warrior deep in his heart was completely awakened. Today, he has to fight Su Luo no matter what. That slash just now was very powerful. Rao took it seriously, and he almost missed the next step. The key is, this air slash does not always maintain the same intensity. It will increase with the distance of the attack, resulting in reduced power. In other words, Su Luo must be nearby, only in order to make the slash have such an intensity. Thinking of this, Hawkeye strode forward. Follow the direction of the slash to open the desert. In his eyes, this huge crack is a guide. And the clown buggy naturally didn't want to be thrown in such a place by Hawkeye alone. In the end, he gritted his teeth, forced his body to stand up from the sand, and chase the eagle eye. However, the more Hawkeye moved forward, the more he felt shocked. According to his original plan, Su Luo is not far away. But who knows? After walking for a full 7 or 8 minutes, this crack is still invisible. This is equivalent to saying, the slash that he took has actually been weakened. And this kind of thing is undoubtedly a huge shock to him, a great swordsman. Oh my God, what kind of monster is this guy? Buggy couldn't help but exclaimed. I feel that my seriousness in swordsmanship is about to be subverted. The two walked for more than 10 kilometers before they finally came to the end of Jonan. Looking at the picture in front of him, Hawkeye was completely silly. Here, Hawkeye blinked and looked around. This is not only the starting point of the huge sword mark. Extremely powerful sandstorms and large areas of quicksand. It is not difficult to see that just now, a fierce battle broke out here. And rely on eagle-eyed keen intuition. He suddenly realized that the sword mark and the sword aura were not directed at him at all. But, Su Luo only released the slash in order to solve the opponent. So here comes the problem. Su Luo, who are you fighting against? Wait, it doesn't mean that the slash I saw was just a aftermath. Hawkeye was dumbfounded again. Even for Jian Hao, the slashing distance just now is too far, right? With the feeling of step volume, at least 10 kilometers. It took a long time for Hawkeye to calm down some emotions. But the shock to Su Luo has been slow to calm down. How strong is that man's swordsmanship? Unfortunately, all clues about Su Luo are completely interrupted here. Hawkeye, look over there. Suddenly, Buggy's right hand floated in front of Hawkeye and pointed his finger at a piece. Hawkeye took a look. A large number of Marines are coming here. The leader rides a locomotive that is extremely inconsistent with the environment here. No one else, it is Smoker. After receiving Tashigi's contact, he rushed to the rainy ground non-stop, and learned that the rebels had begun to attack the capital. After hesitating again and again, Smoker decided to take all the Marines and head straight to Albana. Now, it happened to meet Hawkeye here. Eagle Eye. Soon, Smoker noticed Hawkeye, began to slow down, and stopped right beside him. Immediately afterwards, he was stunned on the spot. Without him, it is really the picture in front of him, which is too shocking. The scene of the super sandstorm sweeping, the huge quicksand. And, that huge sword mark that can't be seen. Anyone can tell that a fierce battle has taken place here. Go on, just kidding, what happened to that crack? Was it cut out by a slash? The Marines were all dumbfounded and talked a lot. Wait, that man, isn't that Mahawk Hawkeye? Suddenly, no one in the crowd yelled. Everyone else noticed Hawkeye, the Hawkeye of the world's largest swordsman. Why is he here? So, is the huge crack caused by the eagle eye? This power is too terrifying, right? Otherwise, how could he be the number one in the world? The Marines suddenly realized, yes, this is the number one slash in the world. On the contrary, it was Smoker, frowning, with a green face, and asked Hawkeye, what the hell happened here? However, how could Hawkeye answer the Smoker question honestly? He just shook his head. As Shichibukai, I have no obligation to report to Marine. In a simple sentence, without extra explanation, Hawkeye strode away from here. It's so lonely. Buggy saw this and quickly followed. Shichibukai. Smoker's expression was even more unhappy, but he was helpless. On the one hand, 7 warlords of the sea is a pirate recognized by the world government, and even Marine cannot easily take action. On the other hand, there is too much difference in the strength between the two sides. He is not the opponent of this man at all. Thinking of this, Smoker couldn't help but glanced at the exaggerated sword mark again. Just the width is tens of meters, and it's not bottomed out. Hawkeye's swordsmanship, is it so terrifying? Smoker was completely shocked by Hawkeye's swordsmanship. In response to Smoker's question, Hawkeye Mahawk was naturally lazy to say something. What's more, he now has very clear goals. Look for the guy Su Luo and fight him. So Hawkeye ignored Smoker and set off. From Smoker's standpoint, there is naturally no way to stop Hawkeye here. After some thoughts, he had to give up his entanglement with Hawkeye and command all Marines to march towards the capital Albana. At the same time, Su Luo took Vivi and ran all the way to Albana. In about half an hour, the two successfully arrived in the capital Albana. Princess Vivi's mood also became tense. This time the civil strife will affect the survival of Alabasta. She changed her clothes in a street shop as quickly as possible, and then set off towards the palace. Fortunately, in the misfortune, all the rebel forces assembled towards the palace. The civilians in this city who do not want to participate in the war must either hide at home or stay as far away as possible from this place of right and wrong. Thus, the avenues leading to the palace were kept unblocked. Just rush all the way. Vivi can reach the palace and stop all this. However, just in front of Vivi's sight, a member of the Baroque Job Club was sitting on the side of the road, as if waiting for something. Actually, Crocodile has always been a pirate who pays attention to double insurance. After learning of Vivi's true intentions, he summoned all the members of the Baroque Works Society and asked them to guard all directions in Albana. Prevent Vivi from passing. And now the man blocking Vivi is no one else. It is the man who is second only to Crocodile in the Baroque Job Club. Mr. Point 1. His real name is Daz Bonus. It is the blade man who ate the cut fruit. The whole body is not only as hard as steel, but the strength and speed are not bad at all. In the war on the top, the Eagle Eyes slash was received frontally and he was unharmed. He is a man who can remember his name even with eagle eyes. When he saw Vivi appear, he straightened up from the box on the street, stepped forward, and walked slowly. Then, Mr. 1 shook his arm lightly, and his entire arm turned into a sharp blade. This way is nowhere, Mr. Point 1 low-pitched voice, full of momentum. Although it is not clear why Vivi would stay with one of them, he would not let Crocodile down. Mr. 1. Vivi couldn't help frowning. As the undercover agent of the Baroque Work Agency, she knew in her heart that this man was very strong. For a while, he stopped and turned his head to look at Su Luo. That guy Crocodile has escaped. Su Luo saw this and had to start flicking. But how can Mr. 1 believe Su Luo's words? Not only is his body as hard as steel, but his inner will is even more so. With a grim face and a fierce murderous look, he slammed on one foot and went straight to Vivi. His idea is simpler and rude. Just get rid of Vivi here. No one can stop this war. In addition, there is a Marine. I can't stop myself at all. Before the two could breathe, Mr. 1 rushed directly in front of Vivi, waved his arm and swept across Vivi's neck. Ended. But when Mr. 1 was so sure in his heart, Su Luo, who was 5 or 6 meters away from Vivi, suddenly disappeared from where he was. He raised his katana to block Mr. 1's slash with a scabbard. The impact sounded a little dull, and sparks were caused by the friction between the blade and the scabbard. Making Vivi retreat subconsciously, his heel hit an inconspicuous stone, his body instantly lost his balance, and he fell to the ground with a plop. In order not to highlight his strength, Su Luo also deliberately put on a difficult look. Vivi, you go first. Leave it to me here. Su Luo spoke loudly. Vivi, who was paralyzed on the ground, looked back and forth between Su Luo and Mr. 1, and saw that Su Luo stepped back because of his incomparable strength with Mr. 1. She fully reacted. Please, Vivi shouted to Su Luo, and then ran towards the palace without looking back. Now she has more important things to do. But Mr. 1 is not a fighting madman. Instead of solving Su Luo here, he cares about Crocodile's orders. Seeing Vivi pass by myself, he pushed hard, separated from Su Luo's scabbard, turned around and chased it out. However, as soon as Mr. 1 turned around, he saw Su Luo blocking him and Vivi. Fast speed, 6 style shave. Mr. 1 half squinted his eyes and thought of Marine's advanced physical technique called 6 types. It is said what skills of the master. Even those who are capable of fruit can defeat it. However, he is not an ordinary person with fruit ability. Wanting to defeat oneself with only 6 forms is even more idiotic. Use your own life to resist the enemy's footsteps. It seems that this should be your justice, right? Mr. 1 took a deep breath, but it's a pity. If you don't have enough strength, no matter how beautiful justice is, it's just empty talk. The moment the voice fell, Mr. 1 further activated his fruit ability, turning his arm into several blades, and then spinning at high speed. He decided to solve Su Luo completely here. Spiral cut. As long as this trick is used, Su Luo's samurai sword is useless. But who knows, Su Luo put down his weapon at this moment. There is no such thing as desperately trying to stop the enemy. On the contrary, seeing that Vivi has run away, Su Luo appeared rather helpless. If I want to solve you, I can do it at any time. You are still alive, but my character really doesn't like fighting. I just want to lie flat until I retire. Su Luo kindly persuades him and hopes Mr. 1 will stop pestering himself. But for the current Mr. 1, how could he give up all this because of Su Luo's words? He even sneered at Su Luo's remarks. When you are determined to block me, you are already dead. After all, Mr. 1 lunged forward, and his 2 sturdy arms slammed down at Su Luo. Next second, a cold light flashed. On the spot, Mr. 1's body was divided into 2 diagonally. The blood gushes from his body like a column. Whether it is muscles, organs, or bones, they are all cut into a smooth balance. His upper body slowly pours downwards and moves with the effect of gravity. For a while, Mr. 1's eyes were even more exaggerated than Bull's eyes. He lowered his head slightly and saw a pool of blood formed under his feet. Thump. Soon, his upper body fell into a pool of blood, and his lower body also leaned forward and patted heavily on the ground. From the beginning to the end, he had never seen Su Luo pull out the unremarkable samurai sword. This guy, how did it do it? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.